Hey YouTube, what's going on? It's the Holy Beaver. We're doing episode 1 of the Beaver Den as we have our first guest here, Mocha Mic. He's a good buddy, good streamer of mine. Really good. I'll leave all his socials down here at the end in the description for you guys to go check him out. I'm just gonna ask him some questions today. We're gonna do episode 1 of the Beaver Den. So yeah, appreciate you coming on, man. Appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come chat with me for a little while.
Dude, absolutely. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem. So I just got some questions about some like video games, some music, a little bit of Magic the Gathering because we're both into that, and
Sure.
we're gonna talk a little bit about your streaming stuff for you.
Sounds good.
So I think we're gonna get into music first because you're a part of a band. You do, So I just want to know like how like you got into music or how like your music career kind of started.
Oh man. I'm gonna start with the long stories. Okay. Um so I guess start from the very beginning, right? I was born into a musical family. My parents met in what was called Music and Art High School in Manhattan. It's now called LaGuardia High School, I believe. Um so my mother played violin. She was first chair for the orchestra, and my father was one of the few solo male vocalists. So from the age of 6, I was in violin lessons for a little bit for like a summer, and I remember you can only remember so much when you're little, but I remember being very good. Um, I felt like it made sense to me, but my violin teacher was always like, "Oh, good, play it again, play it again, play it again, play it again." So um, oh yeah, but I got it like the second time. It's good. So I didn't really keep up with violin. It didn't really grab me, and I didn't play for a long time.
So you started
Um,
out with violin though, right? Like that's how you
yeah,
like that's how you okay.
yeah. So the very first like musical experience was with strings with the violin,
Yep.
and it was cool because my mom was able to help
Help
me a
you
little
along
bit
the
as
way.
well. Yeah. So that was cool to have like the lesson, and then she was able to give me some good critiquing, and my mom was very supportive. So but yeah, it didn't really stick. Like I didn't want to pick up my violin every day and play. So over time, I stopped playing.
Now, was your mom
Um,
because she would like obviously like you said she helped you along the way? Was she more or less like always on you like you got to practice, or was she kind of like
no.
like do it whenever you kind of want kind of thing?
Well, they were paying for the lessons, so obviously I had to get the money's worth of the lesson. So if I had to practice, if the guy said I had to do half an hour a day or 15 minutes a day or whatever it was, I did that. But she didn't force me to sit there for like 2 3 hours, and I didn't have like Nazi musical parents that were just like, you need to play or no milk in your cereal. It wasn't
Okay, okay.
it wasn't anything like that. But but yeah, so then I didn't play anything for a long time. Um, in high school, when I was about 15, a good friend of mine that I had known through Boy Scouts, I grew up in the Boy Scout program,
Yep.
started throwing local shows. And I didn't know the difference between, a guitar or a bass. I just knew that there was music and my friend was there, and my parents were sure that I'd be safe with
Yeah,
Big
for sure.
my good buddy Dave. So there was a bar called Rumors. And this is when you could like smoke in bars still. So I'd be like 15 years old in a bar with a bunch of like biker dudes, and it like at like metal shows, like local metal shows. Um, so I'd come home like smelling like an ashtray, and my parents were cool with it because that's just kind of how it was, and they knew I was safe and I wasn't doing anything crazy. I was just going to enjoy the music. Um, then shortly thereafter, they opened up a venue at the church which would host our Boy Scout
Hmm.
troop. So age 16, it was 2004. Uh, my buddy Dave Rose started doing these bigger shows, and they were all ages. And that was the thing. Like, it's not cool that I was 15 in a bar. Like, that's it's not really
Yeah.
an environment for kids. So he was a teacher at the local high school, so he had a good pull, and the kids really liked him. So they were like, "Oh, well, Dave's throwing a show. Let's go check it out." Um, so on like the second or third show, there was a band on tour, from Georgia called One Way Letter. It was a punk trio. Um, they just they were out of this world incredible. Um, and I was standing in the back of the room. They're performing, and I'm like surrounded by a lot of people that I know. I was on staff. There's a bunch of people that I know through Boy Scouts or from like the school and whatnot. But for that moment, I happened to be alone. Um, and that band just hit me so hard, and it was the first time that I felt like goosebumps from music, and it was just that oh my god. And from that moment, I was like, all right, well, this is what I want to do for a living. This is it. This is what I'm doing. So, I don't know. The next week, a couple days later, I'd found like a beat up guitar, and my dad pulled a beat up guitar out of the attic, and it was like missing a string. And one of my buddies, my buddy Tank, taught me how to play a bass line on guitar,
Hmm.
which was like one string or two strings. So it wasn't really anything like challenging or difficult, but I just started playing, and I never stopped. Kind of like me talking right now, but I just never stopped, and like that moment was it for me, and everything else that followed this. There's tons I can get into detail, but like getting into it, it was like early on with violin. So I feel like I embedded strings into my mind very, very young, and then nothing for a while. And then I was inspired to play guitar, and I kept it from there. I just never stopped playing.
So you pretty much like you got into violin, obviously, like you said, and then you stuck with strings always. You didn't go over to like piano or like anything like that, or did you
I
kind of like
was
dip into that stuff like a little bit?
so for me, I don't feel like I was like some prodigy where like I picked it up and I was like good.
Hmm.
I feel like the complete opposite, where I actually had to spend a ridiculous amount of time playing. I used to play like 8 to 10 hours a day. So to get to a place where I could feel like I could perform a song or learn someone else's song, like it took me a long time to get good at it. Um, so I was just focused on guitar. Really, I didn't have time to play keys. I had like a keyboard. I actually still have the keyboard. Um, Here, my parents had gotten me a keyboard for Christmas. Um, Knowing that I'm now getting into music. So like, oh, maybe he wants to mess with this. It's got 200 sounds or something. I've got it at Walmart or something. Um, but it didn't stick. I didn't understand piano the same way.
It wasn't like enjoyable like guitar was for you, pretty much, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
like I just didn't. The thing was, I didn't understand that piano is more percussion,
Hmm.
whereas it's more of there's a hammer inside of the piano that hits the string. You know, it's not you playing the string; you're playing a hammer essentially.
Yeah.
So my brain just didn't understand that concept until fairly recently, actually. So no, it didn't stick with me. I mean, I get it now, and I can play a little bit. Um, I'd also gotten into producing along the way, college. So you need to know a little bit. But no, it was always guitar. Um, so I started playing when I was 16. It was 2004, and then at the end of 2006, like Christmas 2006, I was on vacation in Florida to see my grandfather,
Hmm.
and my parents were never really like they wouldn't just like be out with us and like buy us something. Like if we got a good report card, we would get something. But they weren't just like, yeah, I'm gonna get you something, like spoil us like that.
Yeah.
Um, but I had just turned 19. My parents didn't really know what to get me. They're kind of big on holidays and birthdays and stuff. They didn't know what to get me or anything. So we were in a Sears, like getting tractor parts to fix my grandpa's tractor, and there was a a pile of bases, like electric bases in boxes with like the amp and the whole package as a starter base. And it was the strangest thing to find that in like a hardware store. Like what the hell is that? So my father was like looking at it. He's like, "Hmm, interesting." And I'm looking at it like, "Oh my god, this is a bit. Oh, bass sounds kind of cool, you know." Like I've been playing guitar for like a year and a half. Oh, bass, you know. Oh. And as I said, like my father wasn't like, "Oh, let me buy you that." So he's not that kind of guy. But he was like, "Yeah, price looks about right. You want that?" And I've never said yes faster to anything in my life. I was like, "Yes." I was like, "Absolutely." So that's how I got my bass. And then like a month later, a good friend of mine from high school, they needed a bassist, and I didn't really know how to play bass. But they needed one, so I hopped in the band, and yeah, and that was that for bass. And now I'm primarily uh, a bassist. But I started on guitar. Yeah.
Okay,
Also, feel free to stop me because I'll
you're
I'll
you're
I'll
good.
go on music forever, bro.
This is the point. So I heard you say like this is what I want to do for like a career. So did you go to like college or anything for like music or like production or anything like that?
So from when I was very young, um, from when I was like 7 or so, I wanted to make movies with my best friend.
Hmm.
We would make like home movies and stuff, and he was really about it. And this guy is like he was the salutatorian only because he didn't want to be valedictorian. He was so smart. He's just kind of just like, whatever. Um, the guy was just a total genius. Um, and he had studied more film than I had. He ended up going to NYU for film, which is one of
Hmm.
the best schools in the country for film. And I went to Hunter College, which is a great school, but the stuff that he was learning like in his first 6 months, I wasn't learning until my third year. So that put a lot in perspective for me. Um, I couldn't. He got the full scholarship to NYU, whatever, because he's genius side. I didn't quite get that. So it kind of put into perspective, like, man, I'm going to be at a pretty big disadvantage, getting into an industry that I kind of no longer am that passionate about. I was passionate about that when I was young, you know? And as I got older, I was like, 2.5 years into music, and it was kind of consuming my life. The local shows were expanding. There was at one point there were 3 shows a month in 3 different venues, and that was becoming my whole life. So I started to lean more towards music and not going to all of my college classes. I would bring my guitar and sit outside or sit near the cafeteria and just kind of play all the time. Um, I took a music class in college, just one, and the music teacher was very nice. And she gravitated towards me because she knew that I played, and not everybody in college plays music. You kind of take it as like a prerequisite for something else or like an
Hmm.
extra class. So she was fond of me, but she was just like, I don't think that you need this. Like, I don't think this is what you're looking for. Um, so all you can really do, and this is not to discredit music professors. Um, One of my best friends is a music professor. He's incredible at what he does, but all you can really do with a music degree is teach in a classroom, and that's not what I want to do. I want to perform. I feel like that's where I'm comfortable.
Hmm.
Um, like I've given lessons before, like one-on-one lessons, but I can't see myself like teaching to 20 or 30 students, and like only one or two of them are actually going to be caring and trying, and I just can't see myself putting so much passion towards that. Like I would rather be performing myself than kind of wasting my energy. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I get what you mean there. So considering like you said you wanted to perform and obviously you mentioned something about a band and like back in high school I think it was or something. Now is that I know you're currently in a band. Now, how
Yes.
did that start? Is that the one from high school or how did that come to
No,
be?
there were a few along the way. So my first band was when I was playing guitar. I was in a band called Beautiful Laundry,
Hmm.
which the music is still up. It's on MySpace, myspace.com/Beautiful Laundry. If anybody wants to go laugh at 18-year-old me, um, looking longingly into the camera. Um, it was myself and my friend Kiara, who she's an incredible vocalist. I don't know anybody else that sounds like her. Um, we had met through a mutual friend from high school, and it was just us. We were just doing acoustic. I would play, and she would sing. And she's one of those people that she's a prodigy. She picked it up so fast. Like I gave her like one guitar lesson, and like a few weeks later, she had like three songs that she had written on guitar. I was like, what? I was like, that took me like a year and a half. Like, what the hell? Um, so we had really, really good chemistry, and we're still really good friends. 15 years later, or whatever it is. Um, we ended up looking for we wanted to add to the band, so we ended up getting a violinist. Her name is Janine, and she was pretty good, but she was still in high school. um I was like 18, she was still in high school, so she was really focused on schoolwork and whatnot. um and they kind of didn't want to take it as seriously as I did,
Mm-hmm.
so the band kind of fizzled after um writing some songs and whatnot. But again, we're still good friends. So I ended up in that band with my friend from high school, called From These Pages. It was a metal band, and that was a ton of fun because although I had been to some metal shows and whatnot, I didn't actively listen to a lot of metal. So those four guys, who I'm still very good friends with, put me onto so much heavy music. Um, and that kind of like set the trajectory for like the next few years of my playing. Very fast, aggressive, like complicated bass lines. Uh, and that was a really good time. But it was short lived, because I had a baby on the way,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, well, I kind of got to focus on work, and so I left the band to spend more time with my kid. And some of the other guys wanted to move on to different things, like my drummer. He's a full time artist now, like commissions for Nike and stuff. Like he needed to focus on his artwork.
Yep.
And there were a few other projects along the way, before I ended up settling on. I met Drew Torres, who is my best friend. My God, how did I meet him? We've been friends since like 2007, I think. Yeah, 2007. I met him. Um, oh, okay. So remember I was telling you about local music shows, right? At the
Yep.
at the church near me.
Yep.
So Drew handed me a demo at one point at one of those shows. There were like hundreds of kids at these shows, like two, three, 400 kids. So he thought it'd be smart if he came and handed out CDs. He was like, "Hey, free CD, check it out." And I don't even know how I got, like, he like slipped it into my hand. Like, I turned around, I was like, who the hell is this guy? So I didn't really have a conversation with him, but I took the CD home and I listened to it, and I was pissed. I was so upset. I remember being like angry because this guy, whoever the fuck this Drew Torres is playing the exact music that I want to be playing. And he wrote it and not me. And I was so upset that I'm like, damn, like this is it. And I remember trying to like sit down and like I sat down and I tried to learn his music on guitar, and I couldn't figure it out for the life of me. I was trying to figure out the two different guitar parts that were going on in his band. And so fast forward a little bit, I end up at a friend's birthday party, and he has a couple people performing for the birthday party, and the opener is Drew. And he starts playing. He's a little guy, he's 5'3", had long dreadlocks. He's got the whole look and the punk pants and the whole thing. And I'm just like, yeah, this is my kind of guy right here. This is my people's. And he starts playing, and like that was out. He just blew my mind. And I'm sitting there like I just took it in. Like he just destroyed me musically. Um, so again, I said it was a birthday party, right? The front row or whatever is like reserved for like the birthday boy.
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting in his chair and I wouldn't get up, and I sat there like the birthday boy was kind of off to the side and like didn't want to like be rude and tell me to get up, but I legit just sat in his chair and I was like mind blown. And I'm watching Drew play, and then I figure out why I couldn't learn the two guitar parts for his recorded music. It's because it wasn't two guitars, it was one guitar, and he was playing rhythm and lead and singing. He was a one man band, and I've never seen anything like that before. Um, so like that was it. I was like, I have to play with this guy. I was like, I gotta play with this guy. So um, I don't know. We just started hanging out a lot, and we very quickly just found that we're extremely similar in a lot of ways. Um, and we became very good friends before anything else. Like before the music, and I don't know, just like that dude is like my soulmate. You know what I mean? Before a relationship, I guess. Like that's I feel like I'm married to the guy in a way.
Hmm.
Um, and then the music came along, and 2008, I think we started playing shows. Um, and it was just us for a while, for like 5 or 6 years. We couldn't find a drummer that was like cool enough. We couldn't find a drummer that like had gear, or not cool enough. I mean, like cool enough, like as a person, like you could hang out with,
Yeah.
and you know they weren't like a junkie or something, you know,
Yep.
you know they needed to have like transportation. You have to get your drum set arounds, or uh, they just musically didn't get all the different styles of music that Drew was writing. So we searched and we searched and we searched, and like I don't know, like almost all but gave up, I guess. And then in 2014, um, we met Danny Castro, our drummer, who we had kind of known through the music scene. But he was like kind of off doing his own thing with his band at the time, kind of outside of the scene. Um, and yeah, when he came into the band, it just changed everything. Like Drew and I had been writing music together, um, just the two of us without a drummer, so we were like overcompensating, you know. So like Drew would play drums on his guitar while he's singing and playing, and like a lot of my bass playing had a ton of percussion to make up for the lack of a drummer, and we were performing like that for years. And we made it work. We had a thing, we made it work. So when Danny came into the band, I was like, oh wait, so like I have to fill the role of a bassist now, and that changed my playing a lot, and inspired me a lot. And we very quickly, like the second practice, like we knew like this is the guy. Like this is incredible. I've never felt something like this before. um yeah, and then we knew, so like this is it for me. Like from now until the end of time, for the next 50 or 60 years, if I survive it, you know, if we survive the impending apocalypse, I'm gonna be with the Drew Torres trio. Like these are my guys. um so we started working on a record right away, and we worked on that record for like 5 years or so. And we recorded it ourselves. I produced it here in my house, and we dropped it last year. It's called "Look Back to the Past" by the Drew Torres Trio, and it's on everything: Spotify, iTunes, yada 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 yada. It's everywhere. It's unfortunate that we had to release it during COVID, and we weren't able to like tour to support it, or even just play local shows to support it.
Yep.
But yeah, okay, that's the whole. that's that's it's long winded. I mean, there's a lot of history. That is actually an extremely truncated version, believe it or not. But yeah, so it's been since 2008 meeting Drew, and then 2014 pulling Danny in,
And then it's
and
kind of just gone from there.
yeah.
Yeah. So you only have one record out right now, you said?
So we Drew and I released a record in 2010, called "Welcome to the Present," where Drew actually performed all of the other instruments that were not bass. So he programmed the drums. He played them on a beat pad. Like there's videos of him playing drums on a beat pad, and it's like punk drums. You
Hmm.
know, it's like really fast, like crazy. it's like kind of mind blowing how like Drew plays every instrument. Anything the man touches, he can play. He's a freak. He's a total freak of nature. So that record, although I'm very proud of it, and he is as well, is definitely lacking that third mind. So what we're pushing now is the second record. So the first one is called Welcome to the Present. Uh, the second record, which is the one that we just released last year, is called Look Back to the Past, and the third one will be called The Future. It's a time themed trilogy, if you will. Drew writes a lot about time.
Hmm.
Um, that's like his main theme. How you know it's the one thing you can't beat in life. Time is always there.
Yeah, for sure. Um, Trying to think if there's anything else I want to ask about music.
I'll keep going forever, bro. You gotta be careful. This is gonna be a long segment.
I think that was everything that I wanted to ask for that. So I think next we're gonna move into Magic the Gathering because I know you
Mm,
play a lot of that when you do your overnight streams at work,
I do.
which are always bangers, by the way. I gotta say.
Thank you.
So
They keep me awake.
they keep everybody awake because it just keeps going and going and going. So I gotta ask because there's online and then there's obviously in person. To like which
Right.
way you can play, right? So I gotta say like which is your favorite way to play? Because obviously you can meet people online playing, but you can also meet people like do you like sitting like right across from somebody and then playing like with them in person, or would you rather do it over like the computer and being able to like stream it or whatever?
100% in person. Like you can't take that experience away. Like my love for Magic came when I was I don't know, it was 1994. I was 6 when I started playing Magic.
Mm-hmm.
So I would play with my brother cross-legged on the floor with like the starter decks, and we played so much, and we would play for hours. And then um, it was something I bonded with my friend Dave Rose, who's many years old. He's like 8 years older than me. So when I'm like 15, he's like 23, taking me to music shows when he can be hanging out with a girl. You know, one of my actually my favorite memories ever, and this has bled into who I am as a streamer. Um, my interactions with kids, like I love kids. Um, it was a hot summer day, and we were hanging out, and I don't know, I was like 13, so he's 21. He's got a car. He's a good-looking guy. He's in shape. He's in a band. He's got a job, and I think he had a girlfriend. Um, and he was choosing to hang out with some of the other kids from the Boy Scout troop. And it was me and one guy a year younger, one guy a year older. And we were just sitting in his basement because it was hot that day on the floor and we were playing Magic. And it didn't matter at all that we were younger. It just mattered that we all shared a common interest and we all loved that game. We all loved Magic the Gathering. And that stuck with me, that it's not weird if someone is old and plays video games or a card game. Like if you love something and someone else loves it, you guys share something in common. You can bond over something. So like if I'm playing Fortnite with a 12-year-old, I personally don't think it's weird, Or if I was playing Magic with someone that is 50 or 60 years old, I don't think that that's weird either, because there's a much older demographic for Magic as well. There's
Yeah.
a lot of people in their 50s and 60s that play. Um, so Magic is very special to me for introducing that aspect and that concept into my life.
Like a bonding experience kind of is what it's.
Yeah, and like, or I guess breaking down some type of mental construct that I have about how society works and whatnot. So playing in person definitely for me is where it's at. Um, but also I being able to craft a card, how fast you get matches. I feel like arena is really good for testing out decks and trying out different things and building your decks. It's much cheaper You know, I love that it's much cheaper.
It's also
It is an
nice being
expensive game.
it's also nice being able to try stuff that like the card you may not have in person, but you have like online. So you're like, man, can't find that card in person, but I have it here, so let's try it in like this deck.
Mhm.
I like that aspect, but I guess in person is better just because I play Commander. I don't play Classic.
Right.
So I like being able to sit down at a table with three other people and just have a conversation as you're playing compared to sitting in front of a computer screen for hours on end just playing by yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So like when I'm home, I play a little bit, or like if I'm laying down in bed, like relaxing, like just winding down, like about to fall asleep, I'll play on my tablet. But like if I'm home, I don't normally play a lot of Magic. I'll do it when I'm, at work. I stream on the overnights. I'll play it there because it keeps me awake. It's something chill that I can also step away from and do my actual job if
Mm-hmm.
I need to. But yeah, you've been playing for a long time as well, too,
Oh,
right?
I got out of it, then I got back into it. So probably about I was playing online for about 5 years, and then I got
That's a
out of
long
it.
time.
Yeah, and then I got back into it playing in person. My uncle's actually the one that got me back into playing in person. I went and played like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 weekends ago, I think now. And we went to
Nice.
our local card store because now that they're back open because of COVID, where I am is kind of like calmed down a little to where you can go play. So he gave me like a commander deck, and like that's what we went and did on a Friday night. So that's
Like that like you can't
I
put
can't pass
that
up that.
yeah, like you can't put that like behind like playing online, like it is great, as you said, like it's great to like test things out that you might not have in person or might not be able to afford. But I don't know, just that bonding experience, as you said,
Yeah.
like that's you can't top that.
That and like I said, I play commander, which Magic the Gathering Arena doesn't offer. So it's like, which is something they should add because it would expand the horizon of like the people that would play like their online version, I guess you could say.
Yep.
But um, now I gotta ask post COVID because I don't know how you're in New York and I don't know how it is doing down there. Where would you normally go play? Like if you wanted to go play in person, is there like a card store, like a venues, or like where would you be able to be like I'm gonna go play on that night?
There was a place that I used to go as a kid, and this is where I bought my very first uh starter deck. Um, it was called the Dragon's Den in Yonkers, and it was a very large, it's just a single store, but it was
Mm-hmm.
a very large card store where they would have Friday Night Magic and stuff like that. But I was too young to participate. I was 6 or 7. I was like 7 when I got my first deck, um, which was Ice Age, if I'm not mistaken. I think I had the starter deck, and then we went back and I got the Ice Age deck, which is dating me, but um, yeah, so I would only play with friends. A lot of people in my Boy Scout troop played. So, and I spent a ton of that was my whole life. Like, but this tattoo on my arm, this my entire arm's an eagle.
Mm-hmm.
It My whole life has been that program up until the past like 5 or 6 years or so, where I've been just too busy with my family and whatnot. But I never needed to go seek out like a venue to play because I always had friends to play with. Everybody was always playing. You know,
Yep.
that was like a thing. You bring your Magic cards with you on the camping trip, and then you know after the campfire and everything's you're settling down for the night. You can play a couple of games before bed in the cabin.
Now, I know, like I said, you play modern and you play mostly modern. I would assume I haven't heard you play
Mhm.
like commander. Have you ever dipped into commander? Be like, man, that's kind of something that I want to try. Or
In person, well, I played Commander a long time ago. Um, I remember when Commander became a thing, and that's when we started to kind of get into it. Um, but also like being younger, I didn't have a huge card base. You know, um, again, my parents were not like we had toys and we had stuff. We lived okay. Get a good report card, get something.
yeah,
But I didn't start like collecting a lot of decks until I was almost out of high school, I would say. And at that time, a lot of my friends had gone off to college, and I was about to go off to college. So um, Yeah, so Commander I played a little bit when I was younger, but I haven't played Commander in a long time. And like once I got into college, I stopped playing for like almost 15 years, I think. It was a long time.
Yeah.
Which is surprising to come back to the game and to still play it. It's the same game, you know. It's evolved a lot, but that was really surprising and nice to see that something from my childhood um, not only survived because so few things did, but is actually better in my opinion in a way.
Now, have you ever thought like when you like tried it? Have you ever thought to be like maybe I'll try Commander, later down the line, like as of like now, for example, or like
Oh, for sure, yeah. So, COVID was. I'm in New York City, right? So
yeah.
bad. It was bad. It was really, really bad, and I don't think the news could quite portray, without getting too dark and too deep into it. But outside of the hospitals, they had to set up tents because they couldn't fit the bodies. It was really, really bad. So everything was shut down. The first thing I'm gonna want to do now that things are opening back up is play a show with my bands because it's been so long. Um, but also with my girlfriend getting into paper magic as well, um, it would be cool to go and actually now as an adult and with a better grasp of the game and the actual money to buy my own cards and brew my own deck. It would be nice to play some Friday Night Magic, but I'd have to find a place. A lot of hobby shops closed down during COVID. Every Friday, I take a walk on my day off. I'll walk a couple miles, and I always pass the hobby store, and I'm like, man, I can't believe this place is still here every week. And a couple of weeks ago, we went on a Friday, and it was there. The next Friday, it was completely gone. The whole thing was gone. And I was like, oh my god, like
What
there it
just
was.
happened in
Like,
this week?
yeah,
Yeah.
like in this week they cleared it out. And that was a place that so the mom and pop shops are they're closing down, but there's still a few comic book stores that survived. If you a few nerdier stores to entertain us nerds. So there are a couple that that I'll check out for sure. But for right now, my main focus is going to be like if I'm going out, it's going to be to perform, to play a show with the band for sure.
Now I heard, like I just heard now. I didn't realize she was into it. I heard your girlfriend is into it. How long has she been playing? Like, did she
Yes, this
just get
nice
into it?
party. So she was so happy that I was playing Magic and streaming Magic as opposed to screaming angrily at 12-year-old kids in Fortnite at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I think she was worried about like me having a heart attack. I was just rage at those games. So she was just like, "Great, he's calmed down. He's playing a chill game." And after a while, she's like, "Oh, he's really playing this game a lot. I have no idea what's going on." So she's like, maybe she's like, maybe I'll get into it. Um, she's like, oh, nerd shit, but she's a nerd herself, so she kind of got into it, and she was like, oh, like I get it now. She played a little bit of Arena, and didn't quite didn't quite grab her. She couldn't quite get the concepts. So I went on Amazon. And it's like $13 to buy 2 starter decks.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's awesome. It comes with everything. So I ordered it and we played in person. And she was like, oh, like I get it now. You're able to actually feel that it's a card game and not a video game. So although I love Arena, but for me, there are a couple of things I feel like are lacking in the tutorial. They don't fully explain some of the phases, which is the whole. You need to know the phases of the game. Um, so when people ask me about it, I'm like, yeah, get into it. They have a great tutorial. I'm full of shit. I'm like, I'm lying. Like it's
Definitely to the people
yeah,
on YouTube that are watching this, if you want to get into it and you're like, these guys are talking about it, it seems kind of fun. They seem like really into it. Kind of want to connect with them a little bit more. Definitely get somebody that may already play it to teach you in person.
yes, yes,
Don't go through Arena. Like
yeah. It's like
Arena is great. Like once you learn it and like you understand the game, but
agreed.
when you're starting out and you go to play Arena, it's like, oh, okay. And then somebody in person's like, did you learn this? And you were like, what's this? You know, like,
Yeah. Fortunately, there are a lot of YouTube tutorials that can give you a really good grasp of the game, and my brother and we learned from a couple other people.
mm-hmm.
But if you buy the starter deck and you get a deck and your friend gets a deck, those decks play so well against each other. It goes back and forth both ways. Like Wizards does a really good job of crafting those decks, the
Yeah.
starter decks. Um, you can learn how to play with just the rule book. Like they explain it really well. Like if you have the patience to just sit there and read it, um, I feel like you can get a really good grasp of the game. Like two brand new players can learn how to play together. I do believe that with a little bit of thought, you know.
Yeah, it was kind of like the way I learned personally wasn't through Arena. Now that I do play it, like I play it very rarely because now that like COVID's done, I'd rather go play in person than play online, obviously. And the way I learned was I would just sit there as a kid. Like obviously I'm still a kid, but like when I was younger, and I would just sit there and watch YouTube videos of just like games, and I kind of like pick up on like those little things as I'm watching the video, and we're like, I get it now. And then you go to play in person, and it's like, do you know how to do this? It's like, well, yeah, I know how to do that. So I learned
Yep.
like not through tutorials, but I just learned through like watching like the Magic channels within YouTube of like just them playing. That's how I was kind of like picked it up, and it was just like one thing after another on like each video. So
Yeah, dude. It's that's. I'm glad that wealth of knowledge exists because there are a lot of people that kind of grow up playing the game and like kind of know how to play.
mm-hmm.
Like they might miss a couple of things. But yeah, I mean, Arena is really good for filling in a lot of the gaps. And I think one thing that it's great for is not allowing you to take certain actions at certain times. Like you can't improperly play a counter spell, or like you can't improperly play a sorcery. I don't know if you play chess. Do you play chess at all?
I don't.
Okay,
I
so
really
like
don't like it.
if you're not a very good chess player and you're facing an also not very good chess player, there's the concept of checkmate, right? So
Yep.
if you move a piece and the king is in danger, you say check. Um, and then the king, you either have to block that piece or move your king. No other action can happen. That is what happens. But let's say I move a piece and I don't realize that I've put the king in check, and neither does the other person. We start doing other things, and we have skipped an action in the game that was supposed to happen. Um, so translating that over to Magic, I feel like that's a really great thing about Arena is that it prevents you from doing things that would be illegal, that you can't do in paper Magic. So
It's
I've
kind
learned
of
a
like
couple
it
of
kind of tells you
things.
like you can't do this, or like that's kind of like one of the things to like I've seen obviously like brand new people who go out with like their friends, their dad or whatever to like the Magic and like the comic book stores that I play at obviously, and it's like they play a card but they didn't read like what the card does, so like they play it and they're like, well, I really messed up there after they read the card, because and then you're like, and then just the whole
Yeah.
game changes. It's like
Hmm.
he's like, man, maybe I should really read that card next time. It's like that's probably something like, not trying to be like rude or like anything. That's probably something that you should do whenever you play a card. Like that's one of the basic things you should probably learn to do when starting to play the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you don't read one card and you think it does one thing but it does the other, the whole game just flips.
Yeah, I've done a lot of that too on Arena because it's faster paced as
Yeah,
well. So I'm just throwing cards out. I think fast, I act fast, and if I make a mistake, the mistake happens, but I will be able to think faster and not make that mistake next time. And I want to keep building speed and momentum in my brain, if that makes sense. That's how I like playing. But I've tossed a lot of cards out that have, cocked my own deck, and I'm just like, man, I probably shouldn't have played. Oops, like I didn't think about it. Just I'm just throwing it out there. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think everyone's kind of guilty of it. Even pro players,
oh
like you,
yeah,
everybody makes mistakes, But that's something that's great about the game too. Is like there's so much room for
learning.
learning and improvement. You know?
That's another thing I like about like in person over like computer is that you have like a little more time to like think each of your plays when on like computer it's kind of just like go go go. So like that's another reason why it's like for someone learning the game it's probably better if you learn in person than online because it's like the games last a little bit like a lot longer, sorry, and it's like especially when it comes to commander it's a great way to learn. Like modern you're going to be spending like a couple thousand where like I am like against the people that I played I actually get a deck that may compete against them, which is like a
Right,
big may. Like
right.
there's this guy that we play commander with, he has like 6 commander decks and it's just like you never know what he's going to throw out and you never have anything that's going to like that you may have a chance against. It's just he's obviously going to
Yeah,
win the meaning you get thrown into his pot and it's like where's the fun in playing against him because it's like you're just going to
yeah.
lose.
It is an expensive hobby, that's for sure. And that's also another reason why like I didn't play it for so long is raising my kid, and obviously the kid comes first, and dance classes and all the other things that come along with being a parent. Um, so but now I'm in a better spot in life and working a lot longer.
Yep.
So now I'm okay with like tossing a couple bucks towards it. I don't think I'll ever like get that far in. Like there's like a for me, this game there's a balance between like being competitive and wanting to win and just like I learned this when I was 6 years old. This is my happy place. Like I love more than anything, more than playing the game. I love holding the card and smelling the ink of a physical card. I don't know. I fell in love with that smell as a kid. That fresh when you're shuffling. I might sound kind of weird, but that nostalgic scent of like you know you're holding a physical deck of cards in your hand. The artwork is so beautiful. That was my first exposure to real artwork was Magic cards.
Let me tell you, some of the artwork that you see on Arena compared to that card in person, the online version doesn't do that like that artwork
Mm,
justice at all. It's
yep.
like you see it online and then you pull it through like one of the boosters, whatever that you open in real life. You're like you look at it on your computer, then you look at it in your hand. You're like, wow,
Yeah.
like
Absolutely. So I went in to a comic store recently with my girlfriend. I was like, let's get the standard set. Let's like get into it and see what we can do with these new cards. See if we can make some cool decks. I love brewing decks. My thing is I've always made my own decks. So I got a white set booster, green, one of every color
yep,
set booster, then a werewolf set booster because Innistrad right now is werewolves. Um, and like, the starter decks or whatever, like the regular starter 2021, whatever
yep,
it is. Um, and I don't know, like just having the cards and like you in arena you have four of a rare card, right? Me now I have like one of a rare card. I'm like, oh, it's like I have it. Like, oh, I have this in the game, But like looking at them and holding them, it's like, man, like this is literal art, and it's the card itself is art, you know. Aside from the artwork on it, I'm saying the whole thing overall, like the whole package of um, what Wizards has put into making that card.
yeah.
Like I love it, love it.
Well, the thing is, we're going back to Commander and Modern here for a second. With Modern,
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of like throw like, let's say you have like four of like a really good card, right? You can throw those four cards in your Modern deck, but in Commander, you can only have one of each card. So it's like, man,
Mm-hmm.
I'm struggling to find cards here for a minute because like I
Yep.
really want those cards in my deck, but I can only have one of them. So it's like,
Yeah.
which makes it a little more challenging, but it also gives it a little more pizzazz or like more fun behind making a deck for Commander compared to Modern.
Yeah, I feel like I would definitely enjoy Commander nowadays for sure. I mean, I would enjoy any game mode for that game. To be real, I'm just glad to play it. When I was a kid, I would have the worst, jankiest deck with every color. With every color, that's how the decks came. The decks came with 5 colors. The blue had a counterspell, the red had a shock, the white had a Sarah Angel, and that was it. Green was the Land of War Elves. Like that, there were not as many cards or options really. So I think I definitely struggled like as if I was playing a commander deck because again I didn't have a large selection when I was very young. And I ended up like when I stopped playing, I had like a little over 20 60 card decks. Um, and more like 70 80 90 card decks. I liked having big decks. I just it there's something about the top decking where you kind of, like the RNG is kind of exciting. I would have more fun trying to pull out these like weird crazy combos that might happen rarely than playing the same few cards over and over again. And that's one thing that I really think is a huge drawback about playing standard is that like this current meta, it's kind of it's boring in my opinion. People are playing two decks and two decks only, and that's it. It's like who can play this deck better? I'm like, are you guys not
Th- th-
bored?
that's that's what I like is
You
like
know?
you can make like 20 different decks like you said for example, and it always gives you that excitement when you play that different deck because it's not the same thing you're playing over and over and over.
Yeah, yeah. Like I don't know. Like some things I can do repetitively, like play my base,
Yep.
but to deck creation and just trying different things like that to me is that's the fun of the experience. Like especially when you try to do something and it just fails and someone stomps on you with something cool like they pulled better. um I don't know, like that's cool to see too. Like I'm not a sore loser in this game like in person, you know. um Online I'm just like, oh, let me guess, you're gonna play this card. Yeah. Like surprise shocker, you played a Seeker's Chariot 3 turns in a row as I killed them, like so yeah, so like I don't know, in person I'm just like if someone just stomps me out, I'm like, that was crazy, like thank you. May I have another, um I don't know. I see the games just as completely social and casual, you know, person. I get a little too competitive on Arena, I think.
I think everybody does honestly because like you may know the person in real life but you don't know this person online, so it's like
Yeah,
yeah.
they're a jerk. They're just they're here to kill me. I gotta win.
I gotta say, opening boosters on Arena compared to real life, like different because you could pull like a $200 card on Arena that you know is worth money in real life, but like on Arena it
Mhm.
doesn't mean shit.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
then you buy like a booster box of like an older set, for example, right? And you're sitting there like opening the box, you're like, man, I just spent like where I am, I don't know how much they are where you are. They're $250 for booster boxes where I am. So it's like, man, I just spent $250 on a booster box, and then you're like 10 packs in or whatever, and then you pull like a $500 card, you're like, I only spent $250 on this booster box, and
Yeah.
I doubled my money.
Yeah, it's like I only spent a quarter of a grand. So yeah,
It's
perspective, right? But yeah, no, like I did the same thing. Like I didn't did I think I bought an Innistrad box as well. I'm pretty sure it wasn't that much money though. Or maybe it was a smaller box. It was not the rare collection. There's a bunch of different
yeah,
types of boxes now that you can buy, and that's also kind of new to me coming back to the game. That you can get like all rares in your boxes or like so I also like that too. You can spend some more money and get like the foils or the alternate art styles. I love the alternate art styles. So I like that a lot. But yeah, it's expensive.
oh, I
Expensive
gotta tell,
against
I
the
am hunting down. I told you the other, or like when you were playing your Magic stream, whatever. I stayed up all night with you. I'm hunting
Mhm.
down those lands, those like really like cool
Oh, dude.
lands. I want them
Yeah.
so badly, but I'm sitting here looking through like Amazon, eBay, like my local Facebook market. I can't find them anywhere. And I'm like,
They come
I just want them.
they come in the set boosters for Innistrad. If you get the individual set boosters. I think we pulled a few. So we have like at least one of each color. I think we have like two of each color. Um, and some foils in there too.
Yeah,
But
we were out playing.
in person, they look really cool, man.
Oh, I know because my uncle, he would obviously go play Commander, like I said or whatever. Like the first time we went back out, he was sitting there with a full deck of them. Like
That's awesome.
all of his lands were that land. I was like,
Yeah,
I
which one is
I
your favorite?
I really want that. I love the swamp, the
Swamps in
darks.
it, yeah,
Yeah, those are
yeah,
really cool.
they're pretty cool. I'm a big fan of the mountains. I like those. I don't know, something about the black and red is uh is pretty nice. But yeah, I like that there are so many different I don't know, the game feels exciting across so many levels now. And I think that the Wizards has done just an incredible job of that, you know. And even I was kind of complaining about standard a little bit. I still think that standard is amazing for like people that are new to the game to be able to just focus on like this is the set of cards and this is kind of what you have to work with. And if you jump into a match of historic of someone that's been playing since '93, like that's no fun. As you were saying, like how is it going to be fun playing against that guy that had all those those 6 commander decks or whatever? They just have so much more knowledge on you. So like I think Wizards has done a great job
I
of
gotta
keeping
say,
the game fresh.
I,
You
I
know,
I say like Commander, obviously a great way to learn. I'm gonna back to what I said earlier about that. But if you're like brand new to the game and don't know anything, like you said, go buy one of those like starter things with the 2 decks and just sit down with like your one friend that's been playing for ages. Give him one of those decks instead of using one of his, and just get him to
right?
teach you the game.
Yeah,
Because like
absolutely.
you get thrown into a pod with 3 other people in Commander, nobody's gonna teach you.
No, they're
They
gonna
they
stop on you and
they
laugh.
think of you the knight or the new guy, and they're like, sucks to suck. You just
Right.
got thrown in with like 3 other veterans that have been playing for like 10 plus years or have put like over $5,000 into the game.
Yeah, like start the hazing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's actually what I did with my girlfriend. I've been playing since forever, and I took a deck and she took a deck, and I was like, all right, which one do you want? Is this black and green or blue and red? I was like, blue and red is more counter spells and direct damage, and green is usually big creatures and like losing life to gain life. Like black is actually hard to explain in one sentence, but I was like, death. Black is death.
And
So
especially like
she
black, like explaining it to like a new player, you're gonna be putting into the terms that you know by, and they're gonna be sitting there like, huh?
like sacrifice. What do you mean sacrifice? You mean that I'm gonna kill my own creatures? Yes, that's how it works. So like, I feel like black kind of turns people off, new players anyway.
And then you
I'd say
play the
black is
game
probably
for like a certain amount of time. You're like, black, I want black.
yeah. I think I want a little more of that. So yeah. So she ended up with the blue and the red deck. Um, and that we play back and forth with these 2 decks, and it's I'm winning more of them because I'm not holding back so they can teach her the game, but at the same time, like it's one of those games where a new player can beat a more experienced player based off of the draw and the pull. If they're fairly like evenly matched decks, there's a lot of RNG. There's mistakes to be made. There's stuff that you don't know.
Some of those
So
times
if
that game's all about like the luck of a pull of one card. Like one card could like flip the whole game. We were
yep,
like, wow, what just happened?
yep, absolutely.
But the thing is you throw like example for the guy with like the 6 commander decks that everybody hates playing against where I am. You throw him in with like one of like the precons, for example, that are good but like not like overly good. You're
Mhm.
like, okay, I just spent $90 on one of the precons. He's sitting over here with a $2,500 commander deck. Why am I about to play a game against him? Because I know I
Yeah.
know how it's gonna turn out.
Yep. Yep.
But but,
Absolutely.
but it's kind of crazy how like going back to like the crazy polls or like how you spend like a certain amount of money and then like triple your money, right? Like you could do some like research on like some of these precons and you see some of the cards like the older ones or like some of the newer ones even like the price of some of those cards in those precons for like $90.
Mhm.
Like I forget which precon it is. There's a card in there worth like $300 and you pay like $90 for the precon.
That's awesome.
It's like
For those that don't know, that don't play Magic, Precon is pre-constructed. In case you're wondering, pre-constructed decks.
so it's like they give you decks pretty much you can just go out and buy and then like give you a start into Magic instead of having to buy all the cards to build your decks or stuff like that.
Yeah, that's great because I mean, a lot of people, a good friend of mine, that kind of convinced me to get back into the game. He started on Arena. He didn't have a lot of experience like brewing and crafting decks, so he would do net decking. And you also have to have skill to play those decks and understand how they work. You have to figure it out.
Oh, definitely. You could go
Um,
out there buy a precon or like whatever. It's gonna take you a few games to get used to the deck. Or that's like
mhm,
any deck that you may build like yourself. You may know the cards, but you don't know how that deck's gonna play with those other cards.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. So so that to me is the most exciting part of the that's the most exciting part of the game to me is this that constant like trying different things. And there are some things that when you figure out how they work together, like I'm always running this in this deck. If I'm running blue and red or black and white or whatever, I'm always running this card. This always works. Um, and then everything else kind of like rotates around it. But I think that pre-constructed decks are a great way to get people started into the game. And what I tell people to do is, especially with the starter decks. So we had bought the set boosters, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
took the the regular common cards that are not that strong. They're not good standalone. They're not really good with anything else. That's the starter decks do have
Yeah.
those. So we pulled those out and we tossed in some rares and some uncommon, some better cards that we had pulled, and we tweaked that original deck. And I feel like that's a good place for people to start. Also,
Well, that's a
you
great
know,
thing. Like you could go buy a for example, you could go buy the like the two set starter, go buy some like boosters or like some like whatever, and then it's like very easily like that's a great way to get started on building like your own decks is just easily tweaking like those pre-built decks that they may give you,
yep,
where it gives you like a little bit of an idea to like, okay, like this is what I need to put into this deck. I need like some of these, instead of like just going and being like, okay, I'm gonna build a deck, and then you think you do a really good job, and then you go play the deck, and you get just absolutely
yeah,
pummeled to
the
the
deck doesn't
ground.
work. You don't have the right ratio of lands or whatever. So what I told my girlfriend Emily, I told her, listen, keep the current ratio of this deck for now. So if it has 24 lands, you want to keep around 24 lands. If this deck has 12 instants and sorceries and 18 creatures, if you pull a creature out, you want to replace it with a creature card. If you pull an instant or sorcery out, you want to replace it with that, just to kind of keep the balance of the deck.
Also,
And
depending on how you play, if you pull a creature and you want to swap it with another creature, make sure they're kind of similar.
right, exactly,
Because
like
if you
similar
throw
similar mana cost and
because if you
yeah,
throw another one in there's like super expensive, you're never gonna be able to play the card compared to like that other card that could have helped you to where you could have played the card that could have maybe
yep.
give you a chance.
And it helps. I feel like doing that and crafting decks that way, it helps the overall gameplay as well. Like um, have it. There's a Giants deck that I've been running. It's is that blue and red Giants. I just love how they work on Arena.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep tweaking this deck and tweaking this deck, and it keeps getting stronger and stronger. And as I learn how the archetype works, I keep getting better and better with it. But the issue is that Giants are expensive. They're
Very.
expensive cards to play. Um, so me, I'm just like, but I want Giants. I need it to say Giants on the card. That's the whole point of it. That's
And then
how the
you look
deck
at the cost to
works.
cast that card, you're like,
Yeah, and like the cheapest one is 3 mana. Like, what about my first 2 turns for every game? Like, what am I gonna play if someone's playing a very fast Goblin deck? That's very aggressive. Like, what am I supposed to do? It's 2021. I don't want to die to goblins, bro. Like I was dying to goblins in '94. Like I'm over dying to goblins. So learning how it works is really cool. Yo, Ninja Season, what's up, dude? How are you, homie?
um, what was I gonna say? We had a person that came to the commander night that were like brand new to the game, right? And like I had some like alter arts of basic lands. They were like, why do my lands like look like this, but yours look like 10 times cooler? It's like, well, it's the same card. It's just you pull an alternate art or maybe a cooler looking land that may be like foil compared to just like the basic card. You can still swap them. They do the same thing. They just look
Yep.
different. Like, go take a look at my uncle's deck, for example, right? Like the lands in there, you're like, whoa, you're like, I want those, not these other ones. So I gotta ask, because you've been playing for a while, obviously. What's your favorite way to play the game? Like, are you kind of like the go strong at the start, like I want to win the game within, like a shorter period of time, or are you more late game?
I figured out um my brother and I used to play, right? That's I played mostly against my brother for a while when I was a kid. We are incredibly different people, and I think we hate each other. I'm not really sure. Um, like that's my brother, and I love him, but man, we just used to just be at each other's throats all the time. We're completely different people. So I remember one thing that would just drive him completely nuts is when I would shock him first turn for 2 damage directly, and that led me to just be very aggressive, and to play very fast and a lot of direct damage. So red very quickly became my favorite color, and I love them all. But being able to just keep getting that damage in there, it unnerves your opponent. You know, even a good player, um, you get enough direct damage in, and they know you have more, that it is worrisome. You know, they play things a little differently. They might take a turn to heal as opposed to playing more creatures, and et cetera, et cetera. So I would say just being aggressive. The same thing as like, I play a ton of Fortnite, right?
Yep.
When you play passive, you die.
Yeah,
That's it. Like
if
you play
you're
passive,
gonna sit in a box in Fortnite and you're about to get pulled up on by somebody that's
yeah,
constantly go go go, you're
yeah. I mean, there is a time to pull back. You know, there's a time to heal. There's a time to box up and to play slower. But if you want to get better, I feel like you have to be more aggressive. Like, you look at any sport,
yeah.
football, hockey, the being aggressive is usually the play. So that's kind of how I like to play the game. I'm less big on control decks like counter spells and stuff. Like I like it and I get it, but decks that it goes on for like 30 turns and I am not able to get a single card out. I'm like, dude, I want to play the game. Like, don't you want your opponent to play the game, or do you want to troll me for 25 minutes? Like, so I'm not big on that. I like it to an extent, but I'm more of like, let's have a good fight back and forth. You know what I mean?
And then you do like those counter like spell decks, obviously, like you were saying. Like if you go play aggressive constantly, you're like, man, it's kind of getting a little boring. It's always nice to have like one or two decks like the counter spells and stuff like that, where you can just play them because it's a different play style, and you're like, man, haven't played that in a while. That was kind of nice for like once, you know.
Yeah, I toss them like if I'm using a way that I play, and I recommend this to everyone, and I feel like most people would agree with me. When you're playing Magic, the colors mean something. The colors do something.
Extremely.
That you have to play to your color that you're using. Um, if you do like, I come back in and I don't know the meta. I don't know the cards. I don't know a ton of things that have happened. I don't know certain mechanics, and I have to learn these things along the way. One thing I do know, and I did know how to do, is play to the color. Um, I know that I wanted to run white and red because I like heals and direct damage, and that was kind of like my go-to combo back in the day. And that's what I ran, and I was like mythic in a couple of weeks or something. Just playing to the colors.
Definitely playing to
Um,
the colors is a big thing. Like you
yeah,
should learn quickly because that's a way you're gonna get better, a way you're gonna understand the game more, and a way that you're gonna know how you like playing.
yeah.
Because
So as you were mentioning, like,
if you sit
sorry,
there for months on end and you're like, man, I don't know my color, that's gonna be a problem because you're not gonna know how you're gonna play. You're not gonna know like
yeah,
any of the decks you're playing.
yeah, like that's the basic. Like people they like certain cards when it's like if you're looking for a deck that's gonna have like you want some direct damage as the end result, like you're gonna need black or red. Like you're probably not gonna be able to do that with a white deck or a blue deck. It just doesn't work that way. Um, so yeah, you'd mentioned counter spells. So I will toss in if I'm going to toss a little bit of blue into something, it will probably be some type of counter effect. I'm running a white, black, and blue deck based around sacrificing the Flesh Taker card. I love that card. It works so well. You get life gain and boosting,
Hmm.
really digging into that sacrifice mechanic and making it really work. So the card that's been really pushing that deck forward is the one blue card in it, which is the Malevolent Hermit. You sacrifice it to counter a spell,
Yep.
and then you can cast it from your graveyard with Disturb. So it's a very strong card. Um, but that's as I'm building decks, that's what I think. Like, okay, I got some heals, I got some, you know, some direct damage, or I have a counter spell. And I feel like if you keep that in mind, if you keep the decks simple, um, I don't know, like the basics usually go a long way for every game, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Trying to think here. Like you said, you like opening the card. You like playing in person more. Is there a card that you were like, I want this card, and I need to own this card? Like your favorite card out of like all of Magic. Is there like that one card?
Uh,
Because I know some people.
Daragaz. Daragaz is a dragon from '05, and I own him. I do own him. I'm a big fan of the Phyrexians as well. I guess the only card that I would really want, you Black Lotus. I guess as everybody wants one, but
Everybody wants that
right,
card.
everybody wants one of those. Um, I don't know. I guess right now for me, I would be more interested in like playing as opposed to collecting. So I want functional cards in my deck,
Yeah,
I guess. Right now, I'm really enjoying the green and white humans decks that are out. Like around
they're actually pretty fun to play.
I think they're great. I really like the Covenant ability. I didn't understand how it worked at first. And once I figured it out, I was like, oh, so it says if you control creatures with 3 or more different powers. I thought it meant like lifelink, haste, vigilance. I thought they meant powers like that. I didn't know it meant powers like their power and toughness. So I was actually playing the decks improperly, and I was kind of confused as to why certain triggers were not triggering. I'm like, man, these cards are bugged. I'm stupid. I was just being, I wasn't, I misread and misinterpreted what the cards said. But now that I've gotten the hang of them, I realize that they're actually really strong and a lot of fun to play. They're very very fresh mechanic in my opinion, and that blows my mind. And I truly think that I will continue to praise Wizards until the end of time. Just geniuses on how they're able to keep a game fresh and exciting for so long.
Well, thinking
For
like,
so long.
put yourself in their shoes, right? It's like, okay, came up with this new game like many years ago, and then they look at it now in 2021. They're like, man, we really got something going here. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah, absolutely. I don't know how many tens of millions of active players there are, but that is the statement. There are tens of millions of active players. That's a lot of people, and as you know, worldwide. How many 80 countries or something or more? I don't know the number, but it's a ton of countries that have, or a ton of languages, excuse me, that have magic cards in the language. Like
yeah,
that blows my mind. It's not just the United States, or Canada. It's worldwide, and that I think says a lot about like how much love and passion goes into the game on their end.
yeah, for sure. Now I know you said that you're more of like a functional card collector, or like not card collector, but like more function than price. Obviously, like you said, is there one card that like you own that you're like, I'm never gonna play that because of like how much it's worth?
No,
No.
no, absolutely not. I'll play them all. I might. People have offered many times to buy my cards. I ended up with a rather large collection. I have thousands of cards. Those are mine. I'm sorry, and they're meant to be played with. They've all been shuffled. I used to when my friends moved away from college. This might sound a little sad, but I definitely can't be the only one that's ever done this. I used to play my decks against each other to test them out when I didn't have people around. So I would pretend I didn't know. Like if I was me, what would I play against that spell? And I would fight myself with the decks to test them out to see how they worked and what their strengths and weaknesses were. Um, Maybe it's weird and lonely and sad. I don't know, but I did it.
It
but
happened.
all of my cards have been handled. All of my cards have been uh used and played with, and that it's a as it is a trading card game, but it is a playing card game. They're meant to be played with. So I'm keeping better care of the cards now. They're in sleeves and whatnot. But
We gotta talk about sleeves for a minute. Can we talk about the struggle when getting new sleeves and trying to shuffle a deck? Can we talk about that struggle for a minute?
I don't know. I enjoy shuffling sleeves. I don't know.
No,
They
I
say that you
enjoy it.
get.
I'm just saying, like, when you get like a brand new sleeve, like do you have dragon shields where you are?
We do, yeah. Or on Amazon, I've seen them, but I just have regular,
I
just
use
like
I
plain
use
white.
dragon sleeves. So like they
Hmm.
come in like various colors. So there's like a
So
color that
what's cool about those? Because I've heard about a lot of people are like, oh, Mocha, I got dragon sleeves. I'm like, oh,
they
like what's cool about them? You know?
they tend to last a little bit longer. Like they're a little higher quality. Like for me personally, like I've used many
Hmm.
different like brands of sleeves that like just gave out compared to like the dragon sleeves. Like you could use like dragon sleeves for like a year and they like they're brand
That's
new,
awesome.
right? But like there's certain sleeves you use for like a month and then they're tearing like down like the side where your card's
Oh
coming out.
yeah,
So like
I can see
actually
that happening with my sleeves actually, and now I regret my cheap Amazon purchase.
I actually got a box of them right here. Just give me a second here. Like
Nice.
down like the side here, like your card on like a normal sleeve will just like tear with like dragon sleeves. They stay.
Huh.
So I really like that. And another big plus about them is like they have a huge variety of like different shades within like the colors and stuff. So it's not like you're stuck to like just black, just like normal red. Like they have like different shades of like red, green, blue, you know? So I don't know. I like them. They're like 15, $20 where I am, but I don't mind paying that for a good sleeve to where my cars aren't going to get wrecked a month down the road, sorry. So, yeah, I don't
Yeah, I
know.
just recently like started looking at buying physical cards again. So if I start to see that my sleeves start to tear over time, I'll definitely invest into those because I do want to have functional stuff. I'm big on quality and buying something once. You buy it and it works well.
That's me with
You know what
dragon
I mean?
sleeves.
I'm big on that in general, whether it comes to like, an instrument or like the audio gear that I use, for example. I'm gonna buy it, it's gonna work well, and it's gonna work a long time. Um, or else I'm not buying it.
Like
it's,
obviously
it's
my comic
you know.
book stores carry like multiple different brands of sleeves and stuff, but it's always one to where like I'll give them a shot that may be better, and then they're like 10 times worse. It's like we're going back to dragon shields.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Thank you for
not.
sharing that with me because I honestly like I'm not big on name brands as well. That's something that like I'm wearing a $4 Amazon Basics T-shirt. I think I'm wearing like Lee's pants or something. I don't know. Like I'm not big on name brands like that. I think it's kind of silly to pay $400 for a shirt or, So if it's like Nikes versus Adidas versus a generic sleeve brand, like if it was a Nike sleeve, I wouldn't get it just because. So
It's
I wasn't
Nike.
sure if Dragon sleeves were just like the name brand type of sleeve
No,
or if they're actually
personally,
like
I
good.
find I find they're a lot better than like definitely people have like their own opinions and stuff, but like I find
I'll take your word for it for sure.
I find like even if I'm because like I may be looking for like a very specific color or like shade of like orange or like blue or something for example, right?
Hmm.
And it's like the other sleeve brands may have it. Dragon Shield I know does. So it's
Mm,
always it's always like a go to like I know they're gonna have like what I want. The
right.
thing you do got to be careful about though is if you go too bright is when you have like the flip cards
Hmm.
to where it's like one on each side and it's kind of like
Oh,
a
right.
yep
Kind of see through.
they can kind of be see through sometimes. My uncle warned me of that actually with like the lighter shades. So that's like one
I
thing you got to be a little bit careful with. But other than that, I love them.
Yeah, I have black sleeves right now. Something that I think is pretty funny. Um, so my girlfriend is running blue and red right now, and she just got a brand new pair of blue light glasses. So whenever she has a blue foil card in her hand, I am aware of it. So if you're out there playing and you have blue light glasses, you might want to take the foil cards out of your deck because your opponent is aware of what you have. Just the glare, which sometimes can be enough. Like, hey, like I know in that deck there's a foil mind flare, and I know that is about to pop out, and that's good information to
But yeah,
know. And
next
I
time,
like I'm big on playing fair. I'm very honest, or try to be as honest as possible when applicable. So I'm big on playing fair. So
yeah.
so I usually let her know and I laugh about it if I'm aware of what card she has, so that we both know that I know it.
But yeah, next time you need sleeves, definitely like try it. Just try it once. That's all I'm gonna tell you. Try Dragon Shields.
I'll check them out. I'll
Like,
check them out for sure.
like they're amazing. I'm not huge, but when you say it's functional and like I want them to last, Dragon Shield's where it's at.
Yeah, nice. Thank you.
I love them. Oh my god, they're so nice. Um, I think that's I think that's all on Magic. You kind of answered like
That
most of
was
the
a good.
question.
That was a good amount of magic. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like 40 minutes worth of Magic. You kind of answered most of my questions as we went along. I think we're gonna step into video games for a little bit, cause
Absolutely.
cause we're some gamers. I'll tell you that much.
Yes.
So I know you're a big battle royale guy. That's where you sit. Is that like
I don't know how.
is that like your favorite genre, or is it like that just like I don't know? It's kind of clicks. Is there like a favorite genre that you like to play?
Uh,
That's
my
like your tried
favorite
and
genre
true.
is RPGs. It's RPGs. Legend of Zelda, Final Fantasy, Elder Scrolls. Um, I'm a Nintendo guy
Hmm.
through and through. First system was my brother had an NES. I had an Atari. The younger sibling gets
Oh,
the
actually,
shaft.
let's back up for a second. How did you get into video games?
Oh man,
That's always a story.
yeah. So, geez. So I was born '87.
Hmm.
My brother was born '84. I don't know. We just always had a Nintendo. I remember always having a Nintendo, and my father played Atari. They had like Pong or whatever they had. So I ended up with that. My first, I mean, it had to have been Super Mario Brothers. It had to have been Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. Um, what my first like true memory of playing a game and absolutely loving the game. I was I was at my grandma's house and my cousin lived there. She had The Legend of Zelda for NES, the original one. And
Those
dude,
games are great.
I just want I that was it. That was just it. I loved it.
Game
I
changer.
loved that game so much that when she moved out, she gave me the cartridge. So I have her save file still from I don't know when that was,
That's pretty
maybe
cool.
293, whenever it was. So I still have that. Which is pretty nuts.
Now, was everybody in your game or sorry, not your game, God, in your house growing up, were they all like your dad, for example? Was he like a huge gamer? Like, was he into
My
gaming?
father was into pop culture, so remember my parents were musicians, right?
Hmm.
Um, my father was a DJ, and he owned a record shop, a small record shop, for a short period of time, a few months. He was always, my father was into skateboarding, OG hip hop, and like he was born '65, and he grew up in the South Bronx, so he I think he like went to parties with like Cool Herc, if I'm not mistaken, like the founder of hip hop. Like that's he was cool. My father was one of the coolest people ever, and which is weird now that I'm grown and my father's just a better, cooler person than I am. Like that's a hard pill to swallow, but my father was always into a little bit of everything. He was always up to date with, oh man, you gotta stay hip. He's a good looking guy. He could sing the whole nine or whatever. So he played a little bit, but my father's more of a hands-on type of person. He likes to go outside, skate, bike,
Hmm.
fishing. He's an outdoors person. So he was not really a gamer like that. My mother, not really either, but they both had Ataris. They started off with it, but they were big on my brother and I gaming. They were about it. Like they knew it was good for our brains, and they both worked a lot. Um, and they took really good care of us, but they did both work a lot. So hey, if the kid is there for like 2 hours, not complaining, not moving, I can take a nap. So
Hmm.
I think that there were times that my parents were probably doing God knows what, and I had no idea because I was gaming. So no, they were not gamers per se, but they would play with us. They would try, but once it got to Nintendo 64, which I got when I was 10 for Christmas, which was just that was it. That was the end of good grades. That was the
It
that was
just flipped the
the
whole thing.
that was the descent where I was like, school is stupid. Video games are life. Um, they would play Mario Kart with my brother and I. I would be first, my brother would be second, and either my mom or dad, depending on the race and map, would be seventh and eighth. But they sat there and they would play with us, and that was really cool. It was four controllers, and we would sit and we would play, and they tried, and they I know they were not enjoying it, like looking back, but they sat there and they tried, which was cool.
Yeah,
Um,
my dad's huge into gaming. Like my first console was Xbox 360, but that was
huh?
just because like one of my like old friends she had it. So like when I was back in public school, it was kind of just like actually sorry, my first console was a Nintendo Wii. We had it as a family.
Nice, dude.
So that was like
Nice.
Wii Sports is where I kind
Mm-hmm.
of grew up, or Just Dance or Wii Fitness or whatever. And then we kind of like one Christmas I never asked for it. I don't like nothing like that. I happened to open up an Xbox 360, and I was like, they were like, yeah, you're gonna put it up in your room. It's your console, nobody else's. It's yours.
Nice,
And I was
dude.
like, okay, so whatever. And then, like I said, I played like Minecraft on like that, and like some Call of Duty Black Ops, like the original one
Mhm.
with her. And then obviously I had from like other friends back in kindergarten and stuff like that. And then I got closer with them, and then I found out they had a PlayStation 3. So it was like, okay, time to sell the Xbox 360. We're going over to PlayStation, and from there it's been PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4. But like once I hit like grade 6, I think my dad had a PlayStation 3 before me, and we were playing Call of Duty Ghosts. And whenever I had like a Thursday night where I knew I had the Friday off from school, we were up till like 2 a.m. with his friends just sitting there playing Call of Duty Ghost all night.
Oh
It was.
man, dude, staying up. Okay, so that was something that you just reminded me of. So my buddy that I wanted to make videos, movies with
Mm-hmm.
growing up, right, that I mentioned earlier in the podcast, he had a 64 as well, and he had all of the other games that I didn't have. So we had to like, when like birthday or Christmas or something, and like one of us is gonna get a game, like Christmas, and be like, all right, you ask for this one, or I'll ask for that one, because we played together and we would bring. So it's like I had the Mario ones, and he had like Donkey Kong, like
Mm-hmm.
we would go back and forth. I would spend the night at his place sometimes, and we would play. His mom was pretty lenient; she would like let us stay up. Man, we would play all night. GoldenEye was one of them. Like, oh man, but like just playing in person, man. Like watching the sun come up. That I don't know how many people still experience that, because now there's a lot of online game, like there's not as much couch co-op. But I experienced like that golden age. They say like SNES and,
Well, when
and
I got my
64 and all
PlayStation
that.
4, me and my friends grinded the absolute shit out of Black Ops 3 Call of Duty.
That's awesome.
And
Yeah.
like it was just 2, 3, maybe 4 a.m. sometimes, just staying up all night. Then you see the sun come up, you're like, oh, I need to go to
Yeah, like
bed. And
yeah,
it's
but
like,
I wouldn't trade that for
oh no,
anything.
that's the best feeling in the
Yeah.
world because, and then you're like, you just realize all like the memories you just made. And then you look at your level, you're like, man, like 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 11 hours was really worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude,
Nothing
I
beats
used to
that
play
feeling.
Halo as well, dude. So this is something that I guess is important, worth mentioning, right? We talked about music and Magic, which I'm playing
Hmm.
lately, but I was a freak at video games. I was like, I wouldn't say that I'm really good at many things, and I'm no longer a freak at video games like I used to be. I was an absolute demon at Halo 1 and 2. And I we could not afford high-speed internet. So I did not get to play Halo 2 online when I was home. I only got to play against my other friends, and that was the same age that I had gotten a job. I built a website for someone. Um, so I bought my own Xbox with my own money. I
Yeah.
worked for that when I was in high school. Um, but it was I was playing Xbox and I was learning how to play guitar back. And those are the two things that I did when I was 16 and 17. So at 16 we couldn't afford the high speed internet, so I spent more time playing guitar. And that kind of set the trajectory that I probably would have tried to go pro in Halo when I was younger. Um, like I wouldn't say I'm good at many things in life, but I I was pretty good. Um,
I
and
remember
I
going back
wanted
into
to, like,
like,
it was my life. Like I wanted to play games, but my parents, they supported it up until that point,
hmm
and they were like, "All right, no." They were like, "No, that's." But at the time, video games were not a career. They were not a career. That's
well,
just
you,
it's
you got
not
to think the esports only like really blew up like 4 years ago, maybe
right right
five.
right after me, bro. Everyone that was born in 1989 and 1990, those are the pros. Those were the guys that were High Distortion, Ninja, Nick
hmm
Merckx, Fear Itself. Those guys, 89 and 90, around there.
See, the thing is like
That 1 or 2 years makes a big difference.
growing up, obviously I was a PlayStation kid, not an Xbox kid, so
Yeah.
I would be sitting there up all night killing zombies with my friends, right? And then like we're going like way back, like grade 3, grade 4, so like way back for me. And we're sitting there and like killing zombies all night, right? And then you'd have like these cool kids that pull up at school, be like, "I was killing aliens all night." It's like you get to kill aliens. I'm over here killing zombies. Like
Mm-hmm.
what? They were
Mm-hmm.
like, "Yeah, I'm killing cooler than you." It's like clearly.
Yeah, well, that they gave you an Xbox, bro. Like, yeah. You said
I
you
I
sold it, right?
I chose to go with my friends, not to kill aliens.
Terrible, terrible. But yeah, that was a moment when I was 16 where I didn't really have much of a choice. I mean, I could have really I could have worked for it or something. Like,
hmm
I'll pay the internet or something. But yeah, I actually did not have high speed internet until I was 25. I want to say I was using dial up or on my phone. I had a BlackBerry, so if I needed something, I would just look it up on my phone. But at that time, I was just so out and about playing shows, and I wasn't home to be on the internet. I was never home. Or I was always out with my kid or something. But when my kid needed the internet for her schoolwork, that's when she was 6. That's when I got high speed internet. So yeah, gaming took a back seat for me for a very long time. From when she was born, I was 19 up until like I was like 29 or 30. I only played the Zelda titles, and that was the PS3 and Xbox 360 era. And if it was at a friend's house or something, I would
hmm
play, and I would like kind of keep up with it. But that was that was the big boom of competitive gaming.
Yeah.
Um, that was when esports was really taking off. I was focused on music and my kid solely. That's all I did. So I missed out on a lot of that. So for me to now be so into battle royales and shooters, is it kind of blows my mind that I'm also able to like hold my own in these games for people that are playing for over a decade and
Well,
and
that you
just
mention
like,
it to where like you said you grew up on Halo to now like you're playing like Fortnite, Apex. It's like you just went from a multiplayer shooter like
mhm.
Call of Duty for example. You 360 that completely because now you're playing in like 100 people lobbies and a last man standing.
Yeah,
Like it's
I don't know. Some things, some just make sense to you. Like, those like puzzles where like you look at the paper and you have to like you can put your finger down and trace your finger to get out. You draw the line out of the
hmm
puzzle or whatever. I can do those sometimes with just looking at it. You know, um, I don't have to sit there and like figure it out. It just makes sense. I see it and it makes sense. And with Fortnite in particular, or battle royales in particular, the concept of the zone makes sense to me. Um, the building and the editing, the it works in my brain, um, and that's probably from playing games my whole life. Um, it just clicks and I get it. I don't know why, but
Now,
you know,
battle royale wise, did you dip into like H1Z1 or PUBG at all, or did you just go
no,
like straight to like Fortnite, Apex?
straight to Fortnite. So I played the last game that I played before like getting back into games was Skyward Sword, Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword for the Wii,
Mm-hmm.
which I played so much that it gave me tendonitis. I played that game so much in the weekends that I had repetitive motion injuries. You know how like they give you the warning that you can get permanently hurt? That happened to me from playing that game because I loved it so much. I was also going through a tough time. So I was playing a ton of guitar. I was working out a ton, like every day, all day, and working and then gaming. I just put too much stress on my hands and my wrists.
Yeah.
Um, so I ended up having to spend years in physical therapy for my hands to be able to play my instrument again. Like it was so excruciatingly painful that I couldn't fret like a single note on the guitar. It was bad. So ice packs and massages and traditional Chinese methods to get my body back to where it needs to be so I can play in game again. So anytime I'm able to play now, it's like a blessing to me that I'm able to play at all. Um, but yeah, so the last game was Skyward Sword, and then a big break, and then okay, it was like 8 or 9. It's like, oh, maybe it's time to get them back into gaming or into gaming at all. So I got a Switch on release day, and she had had a DS,
Mm-hmm.
but we got a Switch on release day and Zelda Breath of the Wild,
Amazing game.
which is incredible. Yeah. And also Splatoon 2. So Splatoon 2 was my personal first online multiplayer shooter, which Splatoon is an amazing game and sweaty. By the way, the
Very.
ranked game modes super sweaty. I was
See,
really good.
I just got my Switch a few months ago, and the first game that I went to was Smash Bros. Like
Mm.
it was
Oh,
like
I played a lot of Smash growing up.
it was
Yeah,
completely like a 360 compared to like the first person shooters or like the
yeah.
other games I played. My parents
Splatoon
were
2 stream? Maybe.
my parents
I
were
might do a
like
Splatoon stream soon.
my parents were like, "Why'd you go Smash Bros? Like that's not your game." It's like because it's fun.
Yeah.
Like
So something on that note, right? Um, a lot of people, this is this weird like stigma or something. I know people think that I just play battle royales or something. Like if there are 7,000 game modes, I love them all equally. And battle royales are just one of those 7,000. Like if it was a pie chart of like how much do you love this type of game, it is it's equivalent. I'm just a gamer. I love games. It's just right now, I feel like battle royales are
where
getting the
it's at.
most love and budget from the developers.
Well, the
You
thing
know,
is like some people don't like the genre of like a battle royale because they don't like they like creating like their own stuff, like not like the loot and go. While on my end, that's what I love to do. I love to where every game is a mystery. Every game is gonna end up different. Like as angry as you may get, and you want to like smash your monitor in two pieces, it's
it's a challenge.
enjoyable. It's
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 different
enjoyable.
and it's fresh. Yeah, like there's only so much Halo a man can also play as well, like Team Deathmatch or a game like Valorant, for example, which looks like an incredible game. I don't like Search and Destroy as a game mode personally. It's not my game mode. I can't imagine playing the same exact thing over and over and over and over and over again. When people are like, "Oh, but it's a battle royale. It's the same thing over and over again." I'm like,
No,
"Not
it's not.
when the game updates once a week and there's always different weapons. There's different metas. You know, the ceiling, the skill ceiling is limitless. So it's always fresh and it's always different. It's always challenging. Same as like playing Magic, where you can have the RNG as much as you can hate the RNG. Sometimes I've had really good RNG, or
See,
someone's had bad bloom that should have killed me, and I come out with the win. So
like you
there's
said,
there's so much
it's
of it. It's a roller coaster. I
hmm
love it. I love it.
like you said, like battle royale's always something fresh, and like you said, also I'm like not a huge search and destroy fan. Like I'll play it like a little bit if like my friends are going to, but me and Valorant, it hit different. Like that, I love that game. Not
Hmm.
anymore, but like when I first started playing it, it's actually a really weird story. When I first started playing the game, I hated it. I didn't enjoy it at all. I didn't want to play it. My friends were like, come on, come play it. So I would like play it a little bit, right? And then like over time, it was like became one of those games, kind of like Fortnite did, to where I just didn't want to get off.
Yeah.
And every day you just keep getting better and better.
Yeah,
And
I remember you playing Fort for a while, and that's how we met through our buddy Titan Traplord, right?
yep,
And I remember you were playing Fort, and then you just Valorant, and
it
that was it.
was it was
Yeah,
it didn't change. It was
yeah,
odd because it was like 24/7 Fortnite, and then Valorant released, and my friend had gotten the one of the keys from the streams, because if you remember
right.
beta, you
I remember
needed
that.
keys from Twitch from watching streams or whatever. And I downloaded it once you didn't need a key because I just didn't want to sit in a stream for hours to potentially get a key. So
Right.
I downloaded it when it became like available to everybody, and I hated it. Like I mean, despised it. I'm over here playing Fortnite while my friends are over here playing this new hot game, and then eventually I just kept playing it because they kept bugging me, and then it was just like I don't want to get off.
Yeah, yeah. The addiction sets in. Yeah, dude. I started playing Fortnite. So I was super late to Twitch and streaming. Super late.
We're gonna get into that.
Okay.
We'll get into that
Okay.
a
I'm
little bit
just.
later.
Well, I saw when I gotten into Twitch. It was around when Fortnite was just
Mm-hmm.
exploding, and Ninja was the streamer. That was it. It was
You
Ninja.
seen him everywhere. His name was.
It was just Ninja, and that was it. And I was like, yeah, the guy's name is Ninja. He thinks he's cool, Um, and then eventually I watched him play, and I was like, oh my god. I was like, this is, you
Weren't
know,
you
I,
like?
I,
Weren't you really late getting into Fortnite though?
yes, yes, I was. So
Yeah.
I started watching Fortnite streams in season 3. That was the John Wick season when people were getting grinding for John Wick challenges.
I
So
have that skin.
I do not, because I wasn't playing at the time. My buddy Noel of a Kind, a fellow streamer, he was really good at Fortnite. He played mouse and keyboard on PC. That's exciting for me because I was a controller guy, So that, and he would always land hot. It was either Pleasant or Retail, mostly Pleasant Park, over and over and over and over again, and that was it. And people were like, "Oh, why don't you just you're raging about dying. You get 4, 5, 6 kills, and then you die because you dropped hot." And he's like, "Yeah, but that's how I'm gonna get better." And he just was like, "I want to get better, and that's how you get better. You drop hot and you fight." And I kept that. I always remembered that. So I remember watching him grind for the John Wick challenges, and I learned how the game worked by watching. You learn that you have to put on 2 minis before you put on a big pot. You can't put the big pot on first before you put on the minis, like all of those things. So when I started playing Fortnite, I already knew how to play the game. I knew how certain things would always kill you. I knew what weapons were stronger. I knew that you always had to have a shotgun and an AR. I didn't, run around with 2 SMGs and a sniper and a medkit. Like I figured out how to play the game by watching. So I started playing the game when it came to the Switch, which was the end of season 5. So my first battle pass was season 6, and then I started like playing the game season 7. Like the first day of season 7, it came out. It was like an Ice Age season.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I was really like, I'm gonna play this game. I'm really excited about it.
See,
So
I
that was
got in.
over a year
I got in like
into
the
when the
the
game came out.
minute the game like released.
Yeah, a lot of people did.
So,
I didn't know about it.
but it was funny
You
because
know?
me and my buddy Trey, we go like way back again, like one of those friends from like senior kindergarten, junior kindergarten, sorry. So like we go way back. We got into it and we were like jumping in, just we didn't know what the hell to do, what the hell the objective, like what we were gonna do, like what was supposed to happen, what we were gonna do. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember the first time I picked up like shield, I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this?
Mm-hmm.
And then you pop it, you're like, okay, that makes a little more sense. And it was kind of like a learning process to where you played more, and it was just like you learned as you went.
Right.
And then like he got season 2 battle pass. He didn't complete it, which is unfortunate, but he had it. I didn't really like I played it, but I didn't play it as much as him. I didn't really start purchasing stuff into the game till season 3, and that was my first battle pass, was the John Wick season. And that was like start of season 3. It was wake up at 7:30 every morning, get ready for school, do whatever I had to do, go to school, and the minute I got home, it was an 8-hour grind till I had to go to bed
Yeah, I
every
feel like it
day.
was that for so many people, you know. So like by the time I was playing the game like that, uh, and I was still like, I have a kid, I have a job,
Mm-hmm.
and my band, I was recording record, we were playing shows, and I was engaged at the time. Like I had a full life. And I started playing that Fortnite, buddy. Um, but people were there were a full year of grinding the game ahead of me. So fortunately, I am a visual learner, and I was able to pick up a lot. And I still do, like on the overnights, if I'm not up for streaming, or if I end my stream early and I raid somebody, I'll hang with them for a little bit, and I open a pro stream every chance that I can to watch, because it's an incredible game to watch, just visually incredible. But I'm able to learn stuff just by watching. So um, I think that I would probably be able to compete if I had started playing the game from day one. I'd be doing better than I am now.
See, the disadvantage that console players had was from day one, that game was meant for keyboard and mouse. And I
Mm,
didn't get a keyboard and like I didn't get my first computer till like season 5. It would have been like the Drift Ragnarok season.
right. Yeah.
I got it that season. And I was
Yeah.
so far behind, so like I'm jumping into these games, I'm just getting like pummeled. I'm
Yep.
like, and for like the longest time, because I hated it, I went back to controller. I just plugged my controller to my computer, and that's how I played.
Hmm.
Until eventually I was like, I don't care if I get pummeled, I'm gonna learn keyboard and mouse.
Right.
And I finally learned it, and
Yeah. For me, I I remember my buddy Benito, BX Benny, also a streamer.
mm-hmm.
This is my IRL like best friend. He was like, "Ah, dude, you're loving Fortnite on the Switch, man." He's like, "You gotta play on my PS4." He's like, "You gotta see the difference of playing on console." Like an actual console. And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh my god." Like I kind of fell in love with the game there, and I couldn't afford a PC at the time, so that Christmas I ended up getting a PlayStation 4. With the intent of also like starting to stream. Fortnite was one of the first games I started streaming, but yeah, I went console. I went PS4 for that game,
Mm-hmm.
for Fortnite, and then they started having tournaments. They introduced Arena, and they started having tournaments, and there was the first trios tournament that was open and available to people, and I played on console with two other guys on console, with my buddy Big Riggs, my dual partner, and uh, my buddy Jacob, and both very good players. And man, the final, I'll never forget this. There were 71 people left when fourth circle closed, because it was big on placement. And the second that zone closed and the next one opened up, I had like 4 frames a second. It was just madness. No one knew what was going on, and it was so funny. I wish I had a clip from that stream. It was just total shit show. Like it was like as if, but it was for everyone. I'm assuming that there were like 50 kids in there that were also on console, but that was it for me. I was like, all right, if I want to play these, and I did. I was so into Arena at that time, which had just come out. And I was so into it. I was like, if I want to play these seriously and compete in these tournaments, I need a PC. And that's when I started to look at building a PC, and I saved up. So that was season 7 or 8. that tournament happens, and then season 9 I built a PC, and that's when I went mouse and keyboard.
Well, the
Um,
thing is like I grew up on controller, right? Tried and
mhm.
true console player, and I made the switch to keyboard and mouse, and it was just like people are like, you need to play like controller on COD. It's like I can't. Like I
Mm,
know how good it
mm.
is, but I
My
can't.
yeah,
I feel like my hands are tied behind my back. I can't
my
do it.
buddy my buddy Riggs, he's just like, bro, like, you know, it's one of those games, like, COD makes sense on controller. It's meant for controller. I actually tried it with like optimal controller keybinds, and I was just like, I'm a mouse and keyboard player now. But some games I can still play, like Apex. I can play, like, if I were to take a week and play controller for Apex, I would kind of be in the same spot as I am on mouse and keyboard actually. That game makes a lot of sense on controller to me, but yeah, going.
The only games I could really play on like key or on controller, and even then it would make more sense to go on like a steering wheel and pedals would be Forza.
Mhm.
Forza
Right.
or Skater XL because those games are
Right. Yeah, for their
meant
for controller. Yeah.
yeah.
Like I like platformers and stuff. Again, I'm big on RPGs. So if the game is originally intended for controller, I'll play controller. I have no problem with it. But yeah, I was a literal 25 years on controller,
Mhm.
hardcore, and that was it. I thought that I wasn't going to be able to do it. And at age 31, I built a built a PC, and I thought I was like, oh, that's it, like a better aim assist and better frames and the whole thing. And a buddy of mine was like, if you built a PC, Mocha, you should go mouse keyboard because you suck on controller. He was really nice about it though. He was like, he's incredible player, and like he was like a Fortnite guru to me. He was just like, listen, if you are not a complete crackhead demon on the sticks, you need to switch.
Mhm.
So I was like, all right, coming from him, I really respect him as a player, and he's not trying to be rude or mean. Hi, honey. Not trying to be rude or mean. He was trying to help me. So
Mhm.
I went mouse and keyboard, and for that game, I cannot go back. It makes sense for me as a mouse and keyboard player. However, the way that Fortnite progressed and how they buffed the hell out of aim assist, um, and how the meta of building progressed, I wish that I had stayed controller for Fortnite.
Well, yeah, they
Um,
made it like to where it's a little more fair when it came
but
to like
I honestly feel that controller players are meta, 100%. The pros that are consistently winning tournaments, controller players, they have much better movement, um, stronger 50-50s in a box. There's a lot of advantages. But that's why almost every pro team has at least one controller player.
mhm.
And I remember this being a thing, like in box fights when Clicks was running all those big box fights. He's got 20, 30, 50,000 people watching him. I remember these kids like fighting. They're like, no, you can't have all controller players. Like, no, like give us one of them. Like, wait, what do you mean? Like, but mouse and keyboard was a thing. Like, you remember when you would play with your PC friends when you were on console and you were like terrified and you would just get murdered?
You were like, I don't
Like,
want to play against you.
yeah, or like you wouldn't play. If someone got PC, that was it. Goodbye. I'm not gonna play with you anymore. Um, but yeah, no, the way that the game progressed, controller is actually meta. You know, and I've hit the Champs League in
Yeah.
on both mouse and keyboard and controller. I've played probably an equal amount of time on both, and I if depending on if I were to put time into one or the other, I could be about equal skill. Um, but I don't know, like for my hands, remember I had said I had like injuries and stuff.
Yeah.
It is easier for me physically at my old age to play on mouse and keyboard, so that's what's better for my health. I have to think about being able to play and to perform. So holding a controller for 8 hours when you're all cramped up, and a game like that where there are so many keybinds and you have to like claw it, and you know it's just okay, I have all the buttons here on my keyboard, like it's oh, I can aim with my whole arm, so it's better for me. But if I could go back and I was a little bit healthier overall, I would 100% stay controller for that game, believe it or not.
Well, is like I said, as much as it sucks, like that game, that was another one like Black Ops 3. It was stay up till 2 or 3 in the morning grinding with friends, obviously on like
Oh, dude,
weekends,
I would
right?
I would bring my Switch over to my buddy Benny's house, and I would play like on a little small little bootleg monitor that he had. I think it's a good monitor. And he would play like on his monitor and be next to each other all night, like screaming comms at each other and just getting mopped at like 5 o'clock in the morning. But anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You were
No,
saying something.
you're good. It was kind of like one of those games where again it was grind, 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 right? Until it got up to like season 10, right before it switched to chapter 2. It was like this game has literally, to me personally, it's went down the drain. Like it wasn't as fun as like
Yeah, the game is
before.
definitely yeah, it's definitely different. Like for me, if I wasn't still getting better at the game, I would stop playing. But every time I play, I feel like I'm getting better and better and better, and I'm challenging myself. For me as an individual, who I am as a person, I work and I work to be the very best that I can be in whatever I apply myself towards.
Hmm.
Which is probably a terrible, terrible quality to have because I just tunnel vision. I go in until I'm satisfied, until I reach a point. And I definitely feel like I've reached a point where I don't think I could have ever seen me being as good as I am now at gaming in general. I'm very proud. Like, I'm not a pro, but like, wow, like sweaty 16-year-old me would look at me now and be like, oh, you got the juice, old man, So, um, yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a ramble there, but I don't know. The game is definitely
Different.
not the same that it used to be. Like whenever I watch old clips and I was garbage, I was so bad at the game,
But
but
that's
I
when
had
you wish you were
fun.
good.
Yeah, exactly. And now that I am very good at the game, I'm just like, man, I kind of wish I was a bot because the lobbies were easier and you're in the same box for 30 seconds shooting at each other and you're running around in a circle and both of you have a slow sense and you can't catch each other. You know what I mean? Like that type of thing. Like I miss that. I miss that a lot. It was a lot of fun.
The thing is that I wish like the game was like where it was still, because the minute season 10 hit, like I finished the season obviously, and then like going into like chapter 2 season 1 is when I got out of it, but that was also in a hard place cuz Valorant hadn't come out yet,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like in between games like you wouldn't believe, because I was trying to find something to where I was having fun like I
That season was
did
rough.
in like to where I had fun in a video game like I did Fortnite, and it was
Yeah.
just like
They intentionally made the game suck that season. And they've spoken about this before about how they will make things, it's a marketing strategy, how you make something really bad before you make it better. And
mhm.
it's an addiction cycle. And it's kind of sick actually that they do this to kids, but that's how you keep people sucked into your product. Right. So they made season 10 with the mechs and all that. So for me, it was fine because season 9, I built a PC. And somewhere in that season, I went mouse and keyboard. So the mechs came out, and I was like, fine, I'm going to sit in creative and I'm going to run edit courses and I'm going to get good on mouse and keyboard. So I actually spent almost all of season 10 in creative every single day. So I feel like it also pushed a lot of other players in that direction to play creative as opposed to the game because nobody wanted to deal with the mechs. Nobody. Um,
That's what I was about to
so
say. Thankfully, like you turned mouse and keyboard at like the right season, because that's when like
and it
box fights and everything were like really big, come
big
creative.
thing. Yeah, and it's so the game. There have been many decisions that they've made that have forced the game to get sweatier and sweatier. But there was nothing they can do to stop it. Like gaming's been evolving, the flashiness has been evolving. Um, and people, you know, I use Ninja as an example for a lot of things. It's somebody that I do look up to with a great deal of respect. Um, and watching him in like his prime of Fortnite days, like he was the best. I don't care. I do not care. You can hate all you want. There's a reason. His stats for now, even now, like he gets streamed snipe 24/7 and he hasn't been playing the game. He still has like the best stats in the world. Like he's like a 14 KD or something like that.
Hmm.
That's ridiculous. I have a 1.74 KD and I could stomp on the man now for sure, 100% because he doesn't play anymore. You watch him stream it and he's getting like killed by like console kids. Um, but just that, well, that goes to show you the state of the game. Where like everyone is so sweaty. But people like that, people like him, these and High Distortion and all those guys like Dakotas, right?
Mm-hmm.
They they got people excited to be sweaty. They got people excited to be flashy and trick shotting and like all that stuff. Like so I don't know. It was a natural evolution. If it wasn't them, it would have been somebody else. And with gaming becoming more and more available and more common, more accessible to both boys and girls, like Fortnite being a game where like there are more and more girls playing the game as well. There was a big imbalance in gaming, right? Um, so like it seems like 50-50 now. When I was growing up, it wasn't the case. But yeah, I mean, the game was destined. It was doomed to become sweaty over time. That's just how it is,
How
unfortunately.
any game really is.
Yeah,
It's just
that's
it's
true.
just it's just over time it's gonna get put into esports, or the tournaments are gonna become big, and then everybody's gonna push to become a top level player.
Yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely. Sorry, we're going tonight. This is gonna be a long one. I'm sorry.
it's all right. Um, I think that's all I had on video games. Again, that was another one of those things we kind of answered the questions as we went.
Nice.
So I guess we will dip into what you nearly dipped into, the streaming portion. So I know you are fairly new to streaming. Like you grew quickly, like, but you're fairly new. What in your brain or like your mind made you like, I want to stream. I want to do this.
Loneliness, despair, and desperation. No, I'm kidding. I have an IRL friend that is a fellow bassist in the music scene,
Mm-hmm.
and she's incredible. Found out that she streams WoW on YouTube. She streams World of Warcraft on YouTube, and I didn't know that streaming was a thing. And this is 2018, I think, like January 2018, somewhere around there. Where Twitch has been a thing for over a decade, and I had no idea. I truly had never heard of streaming, never heard of Twitch. Even streaming video games is like my first thought is like, why would someone watch somebody else play a video game instead of play the game themselves?
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, what is wrong? Like, people are so dumb and cringe. That was my genuine judgmental thought the first time that I heard about streaming. Really, um, I was just like, well, that's kind of silly, but this is a good friend of mine, so I was like, oh, like I actually played Warcraft 2, dating myself again,
Mm-hmm.
when I was a kid, so it would be cool to check out what WoW is actually about. So I stopped by the stream, and she had consistently 35 to 45 viewers, which is a lot of people, especially for YouTube at the time, in 2018. And I learned a little bit about Warcraft and communities and how streaming works. And she's a phenomenal streamer. She ended up actually writing a book for YouTube, which is published in Barnes and Noble, on how to grow your YouTube channel for gaming. And also, she switched over to Twitch because of the monetization at the time being much better,
Yeah.
with subs and the raid feature. And within 2 or 3 months, she was partnered. And then, 150, 200, 400 viewers. And she grew really, really quickly. So my first streaming experience was through her. Her name is Quissy TV. She took a break for, just personal reasons for a while. But that was it. And then I had heard about Twitch as a result of learning upon learning of streaming, I learned about Twitch. And one of my friends, Prog Goddess, who I know through my drummer, an IRL friend that's come to my shows, and
Mm-hmm.
I know everybody through music somehow. Um, Also, like best friends with my girlfriends, uh, coincidentally. She is a Twitch streamer, and she was streaming Destiny 2 and Overwatch at the time. So
Both
I
great
started
games.
working, yeah, I started working overnights in January of 2018, and there wasn't shit to do. I just had to stay awake, and it was hard. So I was like, oh, people watch other people play video games when they can't play the video games themselves. And I was fed up with I had binge watched a ton of Netflix. My job, I'm a doorman in Manhattan, for those that don't know. And I've worked every shift, and I now work the overnight shifts. But there was a period of time for like 2 years where the building was under heavy construction. Pretty much the whole building was gutted and redone. But the lobby needed to be manned, so I had a job and I was there. And my boss was like, "Stay awake, watch Netflix." And I was like, yeah, like great, sure. So I started binge watching Netflix, and eventually I was just so sick of it. I was like, I've had my fill of shows. So streaming was cool because you have real time interaction with somebody, and streamers are up late. Streamers are on 24/7. There's always a streamer to watch and someone to talk to, and that would keep me awake on the overnight shifts. And I also got to learn about all these games. And remember, I took a long break from gaming.
Yeah.
So I'm able to kind of catch up on all the things that I've missed out on. Destiny had been out for a while, Overwatch had been out for a while. So I was able to absorb a lot of that. And it was time to myself to catch up on something that I've always been incredibly passionate about. I was grinding so hard musically that, gaming took a complete backseat. And as I returned to it, I'm just like, wow, like this is something that brings me joy. This was my original passion, was gaming. It took me away from my problems. It was always there for me, you know? But it was like my guitar is now. It's always
Hmm.
there for me. I gotta pick it up, and I can play, and it sucks you away to another place. So streaming was that, getting back into games, staying awake at work, and uh, I don't know. It quickly became like, when I got my Switch, I was like, oh, this is great, getting back into it. And then as soon as Fortnite came to the Switch, was an unexpected announcement for me. I was like, oh man, this is crazy. I gotta play Fortnite. Um, and then upon like really falling in love with playing Fortnite and seeing how good it was on PlayStation, I was like, all right, well, if I were to stream, I would need something to stream. And so it was kind of hand in hand. It was Fortnite that made me want to stream. But I also knew I wasn't the best at it. I was pretty bad, in
Hmm.
fact. So there were other games. The first game I actually tried to stream was Resident Evil 2, the remake for PlayStation. So I bought the digital copy, but it wasn't available online everywhere. uh like certain countries had it released at midnight, and it hadn't released all over the world yet. So I wasn't able to stream it when I got home from work at midnight. So the first game, I think it was either Anthem or Fortnite, and I would stream straight off of my console with the PlayStation camera. And you had mentioned growing quickly on Twitch. Hitting affiliate was 8 days, which the shortest time that you can hit affiliate is 7 days. And that seemed pretty easy to me because I started streaming in January of 2019, but I was hanging with streamers since January 2018. I was in communities already. So I already had like 20 something followers. You need 50 followers to hit affiliate. I had 20 something followers from just people that I knew. And then I would tell my streamer friends, like, hey, I'm thinking about starting a streaming soon. And they're like, oh yeah, like Mocha. Oh, cool, man. Let me know. I'll pop in and let me drop you a follow. So and then those people, they ended up rating me when they would see me on, like, oh, this is Mocha. He's mad cool. He's a 3 month sub or something. Go hang with him. So advice I give to people when they're starting to stream is to hang out with streamers and get to know people, and not for the intention of getting something from them,
Don't
but
do it in the
for,
intents of using them to
yeah, no, like
use
you
theirs.
want to meet people on the platform that you connect with. you know um it is a community. Twitch is a community, different sections of the community. But if you are not part of a community, you'll have a hard time growing, and you might as well just record YouTube videos and post them out that way. Um,
Whenever I'm not streaming, I'm hanging out in someone's chat, rather it be yours, Titans,
mhm,
Legion, somebody's. And before my Twitch got hacked, I was following you for probably, it would have been probably a year and a half. Titan would have
yeah,
been 2.5.
yeah,
Like, I've
and
known
it's
both of you guys for hot, like, it's been a long time.
yeah, and that's the beauty of Twitch is the connection between people, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Um, and there's only people from different, like you're in a different country,
Mm-hmm.
you know, technically not that far from me, but you know you're from a different place. You mentioned something. You said junior kindergarten,
Yeah.
senior kindergarten. The hell is that? There's just
Literally.
kindergarten here.
Yeah, no, we have junior and senior. There's two different
That's
ones.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You know, so like that, I learned something today through Twitch. You know, I've met people that I've been able to expose my band to in Germany and the Netherlands, Australia. Like that to me is just incredible. So um yeah, through a few friends. Oh, let's bring it back to Ninja real quick. Um, so I got big into watching him. He would stream pretty late because he's got 100,000 viewers.
Yeah.
So the man was 12 hours a day, and until he couldn't anymore, and so he could get some sleep and do it again tomorrow. I was watching Ninja one night when I finally started to like really get into him, and he rated Fear itself, and through Fear I met everyone, and I was able to become good friends with him, and that to me is cool because he's a Halo pro, and that's damn, I might have known him. I probably would have faced him back in the day, like so it was cool, to connect with him, and to kind of like break the like that fame barrier of like, oh, this is another gamer, this is another person, cracked as hell, but
Mm-hmm.
that's a really cool thing about Twitch is being able to meet people, so through Fear I met Titan. Um, yeah, I met my buddy Shenny, like people that I've become really good friends with. Um, so yeah, man, I was on streaming off of that PlayStation from January 2019 until like August of 2019. That was season 9 of Fortnite. I built a PC, and then I continued to upgrade that PC from there. And there's been a lot of upgrades from like my 60 FPS graphics card and monitor to I have 3 monitors now to 240 hertz curved screen and the Stream Deck and the Go XLR and the whole thing. It's been an evolution, and I didn't think it would become my life, which it has been. Just my whole life has been streaming, especially through COVID, where in New York City we couldn't do anything at
Mm-hmm.
all. I couldn't play shows. I had no outlet or release, and I'm I've recently posted on Twitter that I'll be spending a lot less time streaming, and for the most part, that has been true. A lot more time with my family and trying to get back together with my band. But it's at this point, it's pretty sure it's always going to be a part of my life, in some capacity or another. Like I love it. Um, but yeah, it's definitely, you got to be careful of that, like that unhealthy balance.
Yeah.
Like for me, there was nothing else to do, and it kept me sane, kept me awake on the overnights. But the burnout can be pretty real as well. I streamed 2,400 hours, I think, in 2020, um, which is a lot. That's a lot. 12 hours a day, 16 hours a day,
Yeah.
like that. You know.
We're gonna go back to the connectivity through Twitch for a minute here because how I met you is through a really long chain.
Mm-hmm.
So I when Fortnite first came out, I watched your boy Wildcat or just Wildcat, and
Mm-hmm.
through them I watched basically I do work, but it was mostly Wildcat. I just found him like really funny. I loved his content, and then he posted one video with Legion
Right.
to where he played Fortnite with Legion for the first time. I was like, man, this guy's funny. Like, I mean, really funny. And then I found out that he streamed on Twitch, and I was like,
Mm.
what's Twitch? Because this is when I first, because all I knew about was YouTube. And then I
Right.
found he streamed on Twitch, so I downloaded it and dropped him a follow, and I tuned into like his streams when I could. And then it was kind of
So
funny.
Legion was your first like Twitch streamer that you would watch like that?
hmm
Oh,
I never got into like Ninja because like I found like, man, they're really big, you know. Like I don't get enjoyment out of
you
that.
can't connect. Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
connect. Yeah, yeah.
So I went and I was sitting there watching Legion stream one night as he was playing Fortnite with Kelly, his girlfriend, and sorry, anyways, with his girlfriend, and I seen Titan was playing with him. And I was like, okay, we're gonna go show the homie some love, right? So I
I
dropped
love that
in.
dude, man.
I dropped in. I dropped him a follow, and from there, it's just 2.5 years, maybe three even now. Like it's been a while, and then the one day he hosted you, and that's now we're sitting here doing a podcast together. So it's
Yeah,
like,
dude. Jordan is man. Like, there's some people that you meet, man, and like, I would say Jordan and I are extremely different people, extremely different people. Where like if we were to get together like and have a drink, we'd have a blast, but we just rack on each other the whole night. You know,
yeah,
we just totally like it's just like, but we'd have a great time. But like I feel like we both just have some type of just we get it. You know, we get each other. You know, like that man gets me. You know, and he's been super supportive. Like he's such a good teammate. In he pulls stuff out of you. You know,
mm-hmm.
he's made me a better player, and by watching him, in all the games that he's played, like he was the guy. He was one of the guys that really put that aggression in me. Is like, we're gonna push, we're gonna push, we're gonna push. What do you mean you're not healed yet? I'm already fighting the next four teams. Like he was that guy. Like I'm going for my 20 bomb. You know, like so. He's heavily inspirational to me as a gamer. The first game we actually played together was Apex. Because I had met him through Fortnite, but Apex came out and I was like, like let's play this together. But yeah, like, and oh man, if he had stuck with Apex, dude, he was an absolute demon,
Oh, he
absolute
he's
demon. He was
he
so
was
ahead of the
nasty.
curve. He was so ahead of the curve. Like his aim and his tracking, man. Like he's like if he had the ability to just play and didn't have to go to work, easily he could be a pro, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. Easily, like if he could just focus on just being a gamer, 100% see him on a team. You know.
Well, if you
Um,
he was in esports for a while. He competed for like in Call of Duty for
oh, that's
a
right.
couple.
He
Yeah,
did. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's like that still shows. You know what I mean? Like I'm just saying, like he'd be able to be relevant big time now, and he just joined a team as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he was.
I'm pretty
He's a
sure.
content creator for Revenge GG.
And not to say it's not relevant. Obviously, the man is, and as I was saying, like somebody I look up to, and he inspires me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm just saying, like the man will be bringing home the bag all the time
Yeah,
if he was to do that. So that's all. Like that's praising him. You know what I mean? That's not belittling the skill. That's just like, damn, like you guys are lucky that this man cannot compete in the capacity that he wants to. You know, because he a big boy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
he would. Yeah,
you know. Hey, I love that dude, man.
but
Got nothing but respect for the homie.
but like I said, it was like it's kind of crazy how like through different streams you grow like connections, but it's like I don't like watching big streamers because you can't really have a conversation with them because there's 20,000 other people in chat. So it's like you find the small streamer, you find someone you really like, yeah, I can connect with them, and then you start having a conversation. It kind of just like it grows from there.
Yep. Yeah,
And it
I like
was
usually I hang out in the largest stream that I hang out in. There are two streamers that have large communities that know who I am. Ranger, Fortnite streamer.
mhm.
Um, he knows me. I be hanging in there. But that's also because I was hanging in there before he had 1,000 viewers. He had like 150 or something like that.
Mhm.
Um, and Stormin is the other one who was already kind of big when I was watching him, but his community didn't talk as much. They would just watch because he's just an incredible
Yeah.
Apex player. Um, they both average like 1,000. I think Stormin has like 2 or 3,000 now, but that's like beyond those numbers. Uh, it's the chat moves really fast and it's hard. It's there are only so many connections that you can make with a person, and also in a chat room, you can't connect with someone's face. You can't connect with
No.
unless you know them as a streamer, right? Um, you can't connect with someone's name in chat and make those mental notes. You don't have facial recognition over a name. Even if you have good memory, I would say I'm pretty good at remembering people's names and chat and whatnot. But we're human beings, you know. There's 20,000 people in the chat. I guarantee that this person does not know the majority of them, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do. If I'm watching a larger streamer, it's usually for like
The
they're either
gameplay.
hilarious or incredible gameplay, where I'm like learning something from, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love smaller communities.
It's easier to connect. Like I said, I don't like I get enjoyment out of watching Nick Mercs. That's just because for the
Mm.
content and for what he does, right? Like
Nick Merckx reads my fucking comments and replies to me on Twitter. So I don't know, dude. Like, you know, he's just different, dude. Speaking of, by the way, like absolute favorite streamer. Like
fucking legend.
bro, there was a time that when he was playing Fortnite, I watched Nick Merckx every single day, and even when he was playing COD too, like when he switched over to Warzone, which is not really my game. Um, like I put Nick Merckx on my TV. Like if I turn on Twitch, he is the first person I look for every single time.
Mhm.
You know, and that's what I hope. You know, more streamers kind of grow towards, like being that positive influence of a guy that cares about their community and sucks you in, and you know, that man reads my name out, and I feel like he knows
Actually,
me. You know what I mean?
I need to correct myself. Tim the Tap Man is another one
Mm.
I can sit there
Yeah,
and
Tim is a
watch.
nice dude. Tim is a nice
Yeah.
dude. I've never really watched him like that because when I found out about him, he was playing with Nick,
Mhm.
and I was just like, "Oh, Nick Merckx," you know. Yeah, so he's a really nice guy. But his content, I don't know. I kind of also do look for that super intense, sweaty gameplay, and Tim is really good, but you know, a
Yeah.
lot of the content is also Tim getting shit on, you know, which is great. But Nick Merckx is that competitive demon, you know, and
Mhm.
I love watching
Well,
that.
again, he's another one that used to compete in like Gears of War and shit like that. So
Yeah,
it's like another thing like Titan. Like they don't compete anymore, but they're like competition is
yeah,
you know
that's
they're still
actually
there.
how they know each other. They used to compete against each
Mhm.
other in like COD and Gears back in the
Yeah.
day. Yeah, yeah, it's cool, man. How like
It's kind of crazy
it's
how like some of the like those smaller streamers like Titan, for example, used to compete against like the bigger ones like Nick Merckx now. You know, it's kind of just like wow, like
yeah, it's amazing what I don't know. It's amazing how like watching how certain people's like careers get launched and circumstances and what but it's mostly just inspiring, and it's really cool to see how there's definitely a lot of luck involved.
mhm.
You know, um, a lot of correct circumstances, but it's also inspiring to think like, hey, this is someone that is my boy. This is someone that I play with, and we've competed, we've scrapped with. If they're able to grow their community, I am as well. And me being someone that's playing competitive game modes all the time, like I'm not a pro player. I can hang in sweaty lobbies, really sweaty lobbies, but I'm not a pro player, dude. I can't. Like I will never be able to beat a tier one pro in a game because that's their life and their livelihood. But it is inspiring to think that it's doable. Like we're all gamers. We're all doing the same thing, and if you apply yourself and put in that dedication to your craft, whether it is the game itself or being a streamer and a personality and growing a community, it's inspiring to know that anybody can do it. Really, if you
Yeah, I
you've
do
got a
agree
little
with.
bit of a personality, a
Yeah,
little bit of luck.
you gotta have a little bit of personality if you're gonna pursue this. We'll say you can't
Yeah,
just sit in front of a camera and not you know.
yeah. You have to live a life. And there's a something that is super inspiring. Um, the balance. People that are able to live a full life off stream and be able to give and create on stream at the same time. Like that's life is about balance, you know. The people that are most inspiring to my band, like the musicians that we really look up to, are not the big names, not the people that just got famous. It's the touring working class musicians that they have to tour to survive. They take care of their families and they have wives and kids back home that they're able to provide for, and they find that balance of when they're not touring and they're not on the road, they're not out at a club showing face at the Grammys or something. They're home with their family, finding that balance. And a lot of streamers seem to have that figured out.
Yeah.
The Nick Merckx, for example, is just like, guys, I'm not streaming today. You know,
He knows
but
when to take a
he can
break.
punch in and make $100,000 that day, or he can sit at the pool with his wife because he wants to spend time with his wife. It's like that balance is really inspiring to me.
Yeah.
Which I don't have right now. I have no balance. So I just want a game, bro. I must get better.
I must get better.
I must crank 90s.
I must crank 90s. Well, I think on that note, we've been going for 2.5 hours. I think that's
insane.
yeah.
Must find some balance.
Yeah, we what we just said, we need to find balance. So I think on that note, we're gonna end episode 1 of the Beaver Den. I appreciate you coming on. Appreciate
Dude,
you
thank
talking.
You so much
yeah,
for having.
no problem, man.
And allow me to ramble. I apologize. It's so long, but hopefully, we learning experience for both of us.
Exactly.
And we'll do better next time. Yeah.
So on that note, guys, we're gonna wrap up episode 1 of the Beaver Den. If you want to follow Mocha on his socials, check out his band's record. I'll leave it in the description. You can go check him out. Go show him some love. I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys liked it, make sure to subscribe, like, comment, share it with your friends. And I think we're gonna try and drop an episode every weekend. I think that's gonna be the goal. So
do it.
Yeah,
do it.
So I appreciate y'all tuning in. Hope y'all enjoyed. Until next time, have a great one, guys.